Lee.
Oh, what's that mean?
Just everything worked well. The song faded out. The jingle started well.
Yeah.
You had a clean handover.
Yeah.
It's going to be a brilliant day.
You're going to have a great show. Everybody's going to love listening to you.
I'm feeling like this is going to be a good one.
You're going to give radio today that when you're listening in the car, that you have to nip into the shops, but you want to sit in
Don't
the car.
go anywhere. Stay where
just
you
want
are.
to be
Get
glued?
involved.
Come
watch
on,
it.
yes.
Listen to it. Text in.
I'm motivated.
Oh, I'm ready to go. Monday blues
All
have
right.
been blown away.
It's Tuesday.
Right, that's all my energy gone.
No, save it. You're going to need it.
Oh, it's all right, okay.
All right, look.
You're right, we are enthused. We're ready to go. The team here chomping at the bits, and we want you to stay with us and enjoy the amazing output we're going to have over the next 3 hours.
Give me the bucket, would you? Go on away.
All right, let's get a news update. Good morning, Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. A high court in India has ordered that the trial of the man accused of the murder of Donegal woman Danielle McLaughlin be expedited. The 28-year-old was killed in Goa on March the 14th, 2017. The orders to expedite the trial were issued by the High Court while rejecting the bail plea filed by Vigat Bhagat, who has been charged with Miss McLaughlin's murder. He applied for bail on the grounds that he has been in jail for 6.5 years, with the trial nowhere close to completion. The trial court has now been requested to conclude within 1 year. Police in Derry are appealing for information on the whereabouts of a missing man last seen in Buncrana on Sunday. They say they are becoming increasingly concerned for 61-year-old Patrick Hargan. He's described as being 5'6" in height with grey hair and was wearing blue jeans and a check shirt when he went missing. Anyone with any information regarding the whereabouts of Patrick is asked to contact police on 101. The Taoiseach says it would be unusual for the government to reject a recommendation from the Low Pay Commission. It follows reports the body is set to recommend a rise of more than 12% in the minimum wage. If the measure is adopted, it would mean the rate going from €11.30 per hour to €12.70. Speaking in Brussels, Taoiseach Leah Varadkar says they have yet to receive the proposal.
We don't have a recommendation from the Low Pay Commission yet, but for as long as I can remember, we've always accepted the recommendation of the Low Pay Commission. So when that comes to government, we will consider it. I think it would be very unusual for us to reject a recommendation from the Low Pay Commission.
The Minister for Disabilities, Anne Rabbitte, will officially open the Community Inclusion Dunlow Hub today. The facility provides a HSE-run day service for school leavers and young adults with intellectual disabilities in the Rosses, Dunlow and surrounding areas. It aims to help adults build independence, set personal goals and support them in living their life. Deborah Smith, CI Dunlow Hub Coordinator, says it is a welcomed addition to services in the area.
There's a day service for young school leavers and young adults in the Rosses, Dunlow and surrounding areas, which provides a service for adults between the ages of 18 to 65 years with intellectual disabilities across the county. So it's brilliant now to have a location based in Dunlow that's available to our service users within the local locality. So we're thrilled to be having our official opening now today.
For weather now, rain clearing this morning with brighter weather and showers developing this afternoon. Highest temperatures of 17 or 18 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
All professional bus and truck drivers are required to hold a Driver Certificate of Professional Competence, or Driver CPC. To keep your driver CPC, you must complete at least one training day per year with an approved driver CPC trainer. So if you're a professional bus or truck driver, don't forget to book. Driver CPC, there to make you a better, safer, professional driver. To find an RSA-approved driver CPC trainer in your area, visit rsa.ie or email cpc@rsa.ie. From the Road Safety Authority.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. And now it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning. It is 4 minutes past 9. It's Tuesday, the 18th of July, 2023. How are you all keeping? I do hope you're very well indeed. And we've a busy one lined up for you, as always. And we want you getting involved. Get your phone out, give us a text, give us a call, have your say or raise your issues. If there's something you feel we can spotlight for you, it could be something positive in your life, something that you need some assistance with, whatever it is, get in touch with us. We are waiting now to read your texts and take your calls. You can WhatsApp us or text us. It's the same number. It's 086 60 25,000. If you're listening outside the Republic, 0035386 60 25,000. If you want to give us a call, 07491 25,000, or simply comment on our social media if you're watching the show. I'll remind you about that a little later on in the programme. Okay, let's see what is making the front of and inside some of the newspapers this morning. The Donegal Democrat today. A man charged with the murder of a man whose body was found in the water off Slieve League has been remanded in custody following a brief appearance at court. Alan Vile was before Monday's sitting of Letterkenny District Court via video link from Castlereagh Prison. The 38-year-old has been charged with the murder of Robert Wilkin, whose body was found floating in waters off Slieve League on July 3rd. Vile first appeared before a special sitting of Ballyshannon District Court on Friday. Monday's sitting of Letterkenny District Court heard that a book of evidence is not yet ready in the case. Vile was remanded in custody until August 10th, when he will again appear via video link for the service of a book of evidence if it is ready by that date. On to the Nationals now, and I'm not going to lie, when we were covering the RTE payments controversy, scandal, whichever way you want to call it, lots of people were texting in saying, well, that's that, I've cancelled my direct debit for the TV licence, or I'm not paying my TV licence. And I thought, well, we say that, don't we? Well, we've backed it up this time as a nation. There are early indications that people are withholding their TV licence fee as RTE grapples with a rolling scandal. This, as I mentioned, is the Irish Independent. New figures show a drop of more than 30% in renewals in the first week of July when compared with the same period last year. The development has so far cost RTE close to $1 million. The numbers paying in June also dropped by a smaller amount, leading one member of the Oireachtas Media Committee to suggest there was a rapid fall after news about secret payments to Ryan Tubridy emerged. Fine Gael TD Brendan Griffin said, even with a rising population, the figures have clearly fallen for June and dramatically for the first week of July. Figures released by the Department of Media reveal a fall of almost 6,000 in the number of people paying the €160 licence fee when compared to the same period last year. So as I say, I doubted if people would back up the words, just to be completely honest, but 30% of you out there on average have not renewed for that month. On to the Irish Times now, and we're going to talk about this shortly on the programme. In fact, it's going to be our first item, I think. But counties Donegal, Cavan and Monaghan would be reconnected to the National Rail Network for the first time in decades under proposals set out in the new All-Ireland Rail Review to be published later this month. Minister for Transport Eamon Ryan said yesterday that one of the key elements of the new plan will be re-establishing rail links from Claremorris in Mayo to Athenry in Galway and from Waterford to Rosslare. He said this would mean there would be a rail line running down the spine of the country from Ballina to Wexford. Mr Ryan spoke about the plan yesterday in New York after key elements of its contents had been revealed earlier by The Times. The move would be primarily aimed at facilitating the transport of freight from industrial plants based along the route, but it would also allow for the future development of passenger services. Mr Ryan told The Times during a visit to New York that the plan, which includes short-term, medium and long-term projects, would also contain proposals for a new line to serve Donegal for the first time since the 1960s. He said it would propose a route running from the existing Dublin-Belfast line at Portadown through Dungannon, Omagh, Strabane, Letterkenny and on to Derry. Ryan's plan deals with proposed rail investment over a 30-year period. Short-term projects developed in this decade, medium in the 2030s and so on. I have yet to get eyes on this report. I don't like the way it's worded here because it sounds like we could be at the end, we could be in the long-term plans. But it would be very interesting, and this is the first sort of really high-level government commentary stroke commitment on a possible rail link. I just don't like the phraseology here, and maybe when we get a look at that report, I just hope that the Donegal plan is not token mentioned, because if it's 30 years into the future, it really would feel like that. So it's getting wetter. The country is getting wetter officially. We are seeing a bit more sunlight and temperatures are increasing. And particularly here in the northwest, it's getting wetter. Not weather, climate. It's getting wetter as it relates to climate. But reading in the Mail here, Ireland has become wetter, warmer, but also brighter over the last 30 years, a new report from Met Éireann has found. Now, there's a bit of a... in the reporting of this. Firstly, this is information that some people feel is very serious, others dismiss it. But it's not featured very heavily in any of the papers. It's really quite buried in some of them. Not buried as if they're hiding it, just buried in that they don't see it to be really quite important. And that film that was out, Don't Look Up, was it? That was out a couple of years ago, talked about how weather is covered. And like the papers are sort of saying, like the good news is though there's more sunlight, but the reason there's more sunlight, if you look at the figures overall, is because of climate change. But anyway, that's fine. I'm not going to, we'll just cover it as we go. I'm not trying to convince anyone of anything, or it's not a hobby horse of mine. But as I say, the positive here is not in terms of news coverage that it's getting brighter, because that's all part of the problem, if you know what I mean. But anyway, the National Forecaster today published a comprehensive summary of Ireland's latest climate averages for the period 1991 to 2020. So this is a trend, okay? So this isn't looking out the window and seeing what's happening today. The key findings from Met Éireann's analysis highlight changes in Ireland's climate over the past 3 decades. The forecaster said the most notable change has been a 0.7% increase in the average yearly temperature for Ireland, which now stands at 9.8 degrees. Now, it varies from region to region. Average temperatures are higher across the country for all seasons in the most recent 30-year period, the study found. It also discovered sunshine hours have increased by around 5% compared to the 1961 to 1990 period. So the average rainfall's increased significantly too, but more so for us here in the northwest. So when we talk about averages, an average of more sunlight, that doesn't mean it necessarily applies to us, because we certainly have seen a bigger increase in rainfall. So if you've been around for 30 years, it is raining 7% more on average now than it did 30 years ago, which is really quite significant, isn't it? Any views on that? 086 60 25,000. The papers are still full of the RTE stuff. I'm purposely picking around it a little bit. But The Sun has done a poll of people. And I would say it's about whether Ryan Tubridy should go back to the radio or not. And at this stage, like, it was an interesting story. It's a scandal. We hope all that stuff gets sorted, right? But does it really matter if one person is on the radio or not? If someone asked me that, I'd be like, well, yeah, what? No, I don't care. It's not really a big deal. But anyway, be that as it may. Nearly half of Irish Sun readers don't believe Ryan Tubridy should ever return to RTE. An explosive poll, hopefully it doesn't explode in my hands. An explosive poll today reveals viewers and listeners have been left stunned in recent weeks by the revelations of secret payments made to the Radio 1 star. Though he argues they weren't secret, it was RTE that kept them secret. Embattled Tubbs, 50, is desperate to return to the flagship morning show, describing it as all he has and vowing to fight tooth and nail for his professional future. But a new survey of more than 4,300 Irish Sun readers show that almost half, 49%, think it's too late for Tubridy to ever find a way back to his former gig. A majority of TV and radio fans, over 2,160, answered definitely no, there's no going back. And then a certain amount says yes, I think about 40, and then 10% says I don't really know, don't care. Probably. But anyway, there you go. That's that. The Irish Daily Mirror tells us that vaping raises the risk of heart and lung disease, according to scientists. Professor Jason Rose of Maryland University said e-cigarettes deliver numerous substances into the body that are potentially harmful, including chemicals and other compounds not known to or understood by the user. Nicotine-contained e-cigarettes are associated with increases in blood pressure and heart rate. Research also indicates flavoured agents carry risks associated with heart and lung diseases in animals. The American Heart Association says the true cost to health may not be known for decades. The findings are in the journal Circulation. And lastly, we'll go to the Irish Daily Star today. Almost 3/4 of all used syringes tested in Dublin last year as part of an EU-wide drug analysis programme contained cocaine. It was the second highest proportion of traces of coke found in syringes in 14 cities after Athens. We have a particular problem with drugs in this country, you know. Report after report suggests that our usage and evidence of usage is well above elsewhere. The findings highlight the growing prevalence of cocaine use in the capital, as well as a trend of polydrug use. The results of tests conducted last year show cocaine was detected in 71.7% of used syringes analysed from Dublin. They also reveal that heroin remained the most common drug found in samples at 73.7%, the fourth highest share among the various locations. So why is it a particular problem in this country, I wonder? OK, a quick run through some of the papers this morning. It is the 9 till noon show. Our first guest joins us in just a couple of minutes.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra Mountaintop Letterkenny, the 2022 C-Store National Off-Licence of the Year.
Entries are now being taken for the Clonmany Agricultural Show. Competitions in sheep, cattle, pony and horse, poultry, home industry, sheep shearing and show jumping. Entries close the 22nd of July. You can enter online at clonmanyshow.com or by entry form to the secretary. Email clonmanyagrishow@gmail.com. The two-day Clonmany Agricultural Show, the 8th and 9th of August. Packed full of events for all the family.
Green Shoes Big Summer Sale is now on, both in-store and online, with up to 40% off men's, women's and children's footwear. Get great savings on the biggest names in footwear, including Riker, Skechers and Tamaris. Also Echo, Heavenly Feet, Una Healy and many more. Shoes, boots, sandals and trainers. Bag a bargain today at Green Shoes Big Summer Sale now on. In-store in Letterkenny and Fulcara and online at greenshoes.com.
Building, buying or renovating? Irwin Expert Electrical, your one-stop shop for all your electrical appliance needs. Enjoy our free layaway service and explore a wide range of brands, including energy-efficient, large and small kitchen appliances and food prep essentials. Irwin Expert Electrical, Letterkenny and Buncrana.
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town. Are you looking to upgrade your car? With Shane Conley Cars, you'll find makes and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out ShaneConleyCars.com or call in to us at Shane Conley Cars from Lonher Road, Donegal Town.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
17 minutes past 9. Right, so counties Donegal, Cavan and Monaghan would be reconnected to the National Rail Network for the first time in decades under proposals set out in the new All-Ireland Rail Review to be published later this month. A huge advocate for a better rail infrastructure on the island of Ireland, but into the northwest is, of course, Richard Logue, who you've heard on the show regularly. He joins us now. Richard, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm fine. This is unusually positive language in this regard, isn't it? That we're hearing really high up in government, the words rail and Donegal being mentioned in the same sentence.
And who would have thought, if you'd asked that 20 years ago, I mean, it's become a bit of a national in-joke, isn't it, about no trains to Donegal. But, I mean, there has been, as you know, there's been a lot of work going on in the background, certainly lobbying politicians and getting the case built up to argue the point that Donegal needs this development because if we're going to really start to offer a genuine counterpoint to Dublin and the east of Ireland, then places like Donegal are crying out for infrastructural investment. So in many respects, and especially in the context of Donegal, of Letterkenny, Strabane and Derry being considered part of the Northwest City region, it makes absolute sense to connect it all up and make it so much easier to get here.
Have you seen anything of this report? Because I'm feeling really positive, and then I'm reading down and I'm then seeing, short-term, medium-term, long-term proposals. And, I'm starting to feel, is Donegal going to be in those, long-term proposals, the end of the 30 years?
Well, the short answer is no, I haven't seen the report yet. And I'm only literally going on what's been leaked out to the press by the various politicians and whoever else. I'm very pleased to hear that Letterkenny is in the mix, but until we actually see the report and we actually look at the timescales that they're talking about implementing it, then I'm not so certain it's time to get the champagne bottles out yet. We need to see what's in the detail.
Yeah, but I mean, there's no argument against this, is there?
No, none at all. If you look at the regional development strategy that's been set up for the whole Northwest, it absolutely ties in with that. If you look at the context of how we're promoting Letterkenny, Derry and Strabane as the Northwest City region, it all makes sense. As I say, the concern I've got, and I've said this pretty much every time I've been on the show, is what's the timescale? I mean, one of the rabbits that was pulled out of the hat there this morning was the mention of Cavan and Monaghan. That would certainly be a big improvement, but they're not talking about even getting the railway line from Dunboyne to Navan until around about the 2040s. So what sort of timescale are we actually talking about? And I don't think we'll know that until we actually see the bones of the report itself.
In sort of making the argument for it, it seems that this report talks of, multiple freight connections primarily, and then obviously there could be some sort of a use in terms of passengers and what have you. Is that the norm? Is there anything in that jumps out at you?
Well, not especially. We've already got the bare bones of the abandoned railway that currently runs between Athenry and Sligo. The most important or most expensive part of building a railway is the procurement of the land on which to build it. So if you've already got a ready-made piece of land, I mean, look, take for instance down in Foynes. There hasn't been a train from Limerick to Foynes for freight purposes for the last 20 odd years. So it's actually a fairly quick win in that what they're doing now is that they're removing the old tracks and they're going to be putting down new tracks to replace that. So that's coming up in the next couple of years. And they certainly talk about, although it's initially for freight, they're talking about putting in a passenger service in time for the Ryder Cup in a couple of years' time down at Adair. So I think freight is the real driver in many respects of getting these railways reopened. If you think about the amount of lorries literally thundering through narrow village streets up and down the country, if you can get a sufficient quantity of freight to be moved by train, it makes absolute sense to do that. In the context of Donegal, I would say we would see the line to Letterkenny coming in line with the proposed reopening of the line from Portadown to Omagh and Strabane and on to Derry itself. But I would think it would make a lot of sense, especially in the context of Northwest City region, is that you'd actually have almost like a kind of a triangular link between Derry, Strabane and Letterkenny. So you'd effectively have a direct route from Derry to Letterkenny for sure. But if the line is actually coming up from Portadown, it makes a lot of sense to run it straight from Strabane into Letterkenny and still have the link to Derry as well, of course. So we'll have to see what comes out in the report. Obviously, bits are being open. It's not even a drip feed at this stage. I mean, the tap is fully on. The concern I've got is, and Eamon Ryan himself raised this actually yesterday at a press conference, is about the length of time taken from the point at which they say, yes, we're going to do this, to actually obtaining the necessary planning and permissions, dealing with objections, and actually getting spades in the ground. I mean,
but even financing this, I suspect that we could start seeing projects like this leveraged against road projects. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I think it makes sense to do both. We desperately need things like the A5 dual carriageway in place because of the amount of traffic that particular stretch of road, as we all know, takes going up and down between Dublin and Donegal. But we need to approach infrastructure rather than as a reward for investment. It's actually as an enabler. And that is the key difference that we need to start thinking, because for too long we've seen infrastructure, well, if you get enough of a population, we might reward you with a railway line. No, you establish the railway line first, and then you use that as the foundation on which to build local investment and jobs and growth.
Yeah, and there are major developments like potentially, the 10T, a major road development from Letterkenny to effectively Strabane that would link with the A5. I mean, if we were really serious about that, you would like to see, those plans modified perhaps to accommodate, a rail line next to it? If I started seeing that sort of stuff, then I'd start saying, right, okay, maybe they're serious about this. But if we allow that to progress through and then restart the planning process potentially for a Letterkenny-Strabane link, then I would start feeling that, right, that was just waffle and we're not going to see it. That would make me feel like it's a real possibility.
I think you're absolutely right, Greg. If you get off the plane in Amsterdam and you take the train from Schiphol Airport into the city centre, the train line runs literally beside the motorway all the way in. And if you're going to be setting aside land, as I said before, the most expensive part of the construction of a railway is procurement of the land. Why not make provision? I mean, trains these days are able to cope with much better gradients than they would have done in the past. But you essentially engineer it. And I've argued this before with Donegal County Council manager and with the Derry City Council chief executive, and said if you're making provision for dual carriageways, make the provision for the railway, because it's coming at some point. And otherwise, you're just doubling your expenses. And they didn't laugh me out of it. So we'll have to see if that piece of what I consider common sense, and I suspect you do too as well, Greg, will actually come to fruition.
Richard, thanks as always for your time. We shall see. Okay, that is
Absolutely.
Take care. Richard Logue, campaigner for Better Transport. Charles Bartley is PRO of West Ulster Rail Initiative. He joins us on the programme now. Charles, good morning to you.
Good morning, Craig.
And I know your initiative, your organisation has campaigned heavy in relation to this with a series of meetings and lobbying and what have you. I mean, obviously, this is now, we're just hearing the words Donegal and rail in the same sentence, but real positive music from your perspective?
Yes, it is. First of our campaign is actually starting to show, and with the politicians, there's a number of politicians behind us as well. That's actually helped also.
What do you? I mean, you're working off the same information that's in the newspapers as we are, Charles. Is that correct, or do you know anything further about timelines? Because there seems to be, a short-term, medium-term, and long-term approach being adopted here.
Well, as you say, a lot of it was played to us in the last while, but in regards of the main report being released yesterday, we're looking for more of it to come out, but a lot of what has been said has been indicated to us in the last number of months.
And you say, and you've argued, Charles, for the long time, there's a lot of positives in this regard, obviously just in terms of access and all, but with an eye on the climate as well in terms of, moving things around more efficiently.
That is correct, and also taking 70% of the freight off the roads and onto the trains.
Yes, okay, we've lost that connection to Charles, but we got his main point. It was a broad welcome to it. That was Charles Bartley, PRO of the West Ulster Rail Initiative. Do you think it might happen? 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and texts to that number. A couple of calls in from listeners warning their fellow listeners of Amazon hoax calls. They're doing the rounds at the moment, so you might get a call. Lots of people are ordering stuff all the time. So this is how you might get caught out, but they ring you up talking of a delivery, or it could be about your subscription. It varies from one to the other, saying there are issues, and there really are quite convincing calls, and sometimes they have quite good information about the person they're calling. So another listener warning others that the Amazon hoax calls are doing the rounds at the moment. A caller says in Austria, home insulation is made from sheep's wool. In Donegal, we have 13 of the national sheep flock. Our wool crop is now worthless. Its disposal is now a problem. We need a state initiative to do this in the way. We set up the Sugar Co, an ESB almost 100 years ago. That comes in from Connell. Yes, indeed. I was chatting to a few people about that, and they were talking of the disposal of that wool. All right, stay right where you are. Back in a moment.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com. Be prepared for training and match day with Michael Murphy Sports and Leisure, with a variety of mouthguards, shorts, socks and boots from O'Neill's, ATAC and Adidas. Exclusive Michael Murphy GAA gloves are available in 4 different styles. You'll find everything your team needs to succeed on match day at michaelmurphysports.ie.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at The Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system, and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
At Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, we are now operating out of one new state-of-the-art showroom in Donegal Town. And we invite you to visit our new 5,000 square foot Donegal Town showroom to discover the latest eye-catching designs. Remember, at Cherrymore, you're dealing directly with a manufacturer, which means high-quality kitchens at factory prices. Start planning your dream kitchen or bedroom by calling Cherrymore on 074 9725 822. Cherrymore, 25 years delivering value, quality and service all over Ireland.
Now, the High Court has dismissed the bail application of accused Vicat Bhagat in 2017 Irish national Danielle McLaughlin's rape and murder case. The High Court has also directed the trial court to expedite the trial and conclude it within 1 year. So if there's anyone that deserves some good news, it's Andrea Bannigan, who's the mother of Danielle McLaughlin, and we hope this is good news. Andrea, thanks for joining us this morning. And I suppose this comes down to, there's been many false dawns. This comes down to whether or not this is followed through on, I suppose.
Well, it's the first time the High Court has ever got involved in Danielle's trial. And so I'm very hopeful this time that it will hopefully be over within the year.
And hearing information like Bhagat has as many as 6 case files against him for different offences. The High Court also noted that the Vicat's conduct in the jail in the last 6.5 years has been very bad, and he assaulted inmates and jail staff too. Now I'm reading a translated version of it. But, you know, we're learning more about this person, what his history is, what he's capable of. And I think the fact that's on the record of the High Court, and as you say, they're taking an interest in this case, hugely important.
I'm hopeful that it will be over, and I'm glad he got refused bail again yesterday, because there's always a worry in my head that he will get out. So hopefully now it will be concluded within the year, and Danielle will finally get some kind of justice.
And you too, whilst dealing with this awful loss of your beautiful daughter. I need it over for
Danielle. I need it over for her. So, but then there's always the fear that he will kill it. But hopefully not.
You would hope with the language that was used in the High Court that it would be very hard to argue any delays in this trial now or any applications for bail. That's all you can hope for, Andrea, I suppose.
Well, he can't go any further now. It's been rejected by the High Court for bail, so that's finished with this time. So when the High Court gets involved, normally they do listen to them. But the trial's back on Friday, so it's more a waiting game now to see how Friday goes.
And what
do they be faster?
Yeah, and whilst they say, you know, it has to be finished within a year, it could move much quicker than that. I mean, do you allow yourself to hope that they will want to get this case over and done with as soon as possible now?
It sounds like they want it over and done with. I'll work for the year, and then over that as a big bonus for us.
Yeah, indeed. In terms of your ability to follow the trial, Andrea, is there any improvement in that regard?
Well, I do get updates from the lawyers and also go on the court records. No, I'm not, like they still have never given me access to view the courtroom.
Yeah.
But hopefully now, as the trial does get near the end, I will go over to Goa.
Are you prepared for that, Andrea, or would you look forward to that, or what are your emotions like? No, just in terms of, going over to see justice hopefully being served. That, I don't mean look forward to it as in you might a holiday, but just in terms of being able to close this off, this element of it, in person.
I feel I need to see it and also try and see the beauty that Danielle did see in Goa. And I would like to just put an end to that part of it.
Yeah, okay.
But it's something that I do know it will affect my emotions.
No, it'll be a really tough journey, that, for many, many different reasons. For the joy.
Because I'll have to go and view where she passed away as well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, Andrea, as I say, no one deserves... I'll say positive news. You know what I mean by that, Andrea, that this would be over and done with. You know what I mean? No one deserves it more than you, because it's a torture what you've been going through. And we appreciate you speaking to us, and hopefully we'll speak again, and hopefully this gets resolved for all the reasons you want it to. I can't presume to know why, Andrea, but you know yourself what that journey would mean to you, what you would want from it, and I hope everything is as you wish, and I hope that it's not a year. I hope they are embarrassed into doing this really, really quickly.
I really hope you're right, because I do need it over. I need it concluded for us as a family.
Yeah. And you do get, Andrea, when we speak to you, you do get a sense that everyone is rooting for you, don't you? Right across the region and beyond that. I hope you do know that everyone.
Oh, I do know that. Because I still receive letters from Dublin, etc.
Brilliant. Okay,
and from other parts of Ireland.
All right. As long as you know that we're all behind you. Okay. Thanks, Andrea.
Thank you very much.
Bye bye. All right. Take care, Andrea Bannigan, there, mother of Danielle McLaughlin. We'll keep a close eye on that as we have right through that whole process. Greg, you'll be collecting your pension before there's a railway in Donegal. I think that's optimistic that I'd still be alive, to be honest with you. I try and stay positive. I think I'll be collecting a pension before the Twin Towns is bypassed, or there's a bridge over the Swilly. Any of those major projects, I hope I'm wrong. I think I will be collecting a pension. Walking on the beautiful railway track behind Muckish to Burton Port, my thinking when walking on it is there should be trains on this track. After all the hard manual work that our ancestors did creating it in the first place, sadly the track was not preserved, as houses are built on much of the track from Letterkenny indeed. And there's other areas, and I think dependent where you are in the region, you'll know where the train track went previously. I was looking recently at old videos of the train pulling out of Creasla onto Burton Port, I believe it was, and the beautiful scenery that must have been on that train from Letterkenny to Creasla. And then I would love to see footage from the train going through Barnasmore Gap up on that elevated site. It just must have been something to behold, to be on it, but also to see it trundling along the edge of the mountain there. Would if there were ever to be a train, say, to Sligo, would it go along that route again? Probably not. But I just can imagine how beautiful it must have been. Eamon Ryan, Green Party extending a railway link to Donegal. Really? Is this the 1st of April? No, it's not. For some, it might feel like it, but it's not. He said it. So we'll see. As I say, it might be on the long finger. Caller says, climate change is real, of course. Basic geography tells us that the Earth goes through a climate cycle of ice age to tropical age since the dawn of time. This is how we've turf and coal. Recently, a number of green energy experts were questioned by US Congress, and none had any idea of the percentage of CO2 in our atmosphere, guessing from 6 to 9%. It is, in fact, around 0.044%. The reality is that if it drops below 0.4%, global crops will begin to fail. So while I agree that we need cleaner energy and less plastics, etc., I believe it should be done for health and ecology reasons rather than climate alarmist reasons. Well, I mean, if any, I think we're quite entitled to be alarmed to some extent because we're seeing very dramatic changes in a short period of time. You probably know better how the climate cycled through the ice age and tropical age and what have you. But did the temperature increase by 0.7 degrees over 30 years as was being predicted? These are facts that can't be ignored. ignored. That is a very rapid temperature increase over a short period of time. How long is Navan looking for a rail service? And there's already a line there. And can we see anything positive rail services under a line from Dublin to Galway? Pardon the pun. I don't know. Right, okay. Sorry, just bringing our next guest in shortly. Is there in the three... Sorry, beg your pardon. In the Free State's latest podcast, Joe Brolly, an eminent criminal barrister, said that it was his opinion that there were criminal charges to be answered by the executive members in RTE. I just wonder, is there any active Garda inquiry? Have any of the politicians who've been so vocal on the issue made an official complaint? Or is this going to be another Irish scandal where everyone knows there was wrongdoing, criminality and activity, but because of who's involved, nobody's held accountable? Well, I suppose... whether they made a formal complaint or not, I don't know. But it seems that RTE got their own advice that said there was no criminality, and many of the members of the Oireachtas Committee seem to accept that. Good to see a lot of people not paying the TV licence. I won't be either when mine's up. Okay. Hi, Greg. It's a joke, the work they've started doing in Newtown Main Road. This work should have been done at night. They can't do anything in this country, Greg. They need to do some shaking up in this country, thanks. And there was amazing nighttime works done from the mountaintop where we're sitting at the moment down that hill. What's it called? It's really effective. It must be really expensive. I don't know why certain roads are done at night and others aren't. Another caller says RTE needs to concentrate on Irish talent, Irish news, Irish drama. Get rid of Aussie English soaps and UK stories. Get rid of Network 2 and 2FM, for instance. It concentrates on UK celeb culture. Ignored parental alienation. Okay. If you have a TV receiving apparatus, you're required to have a licence, whether you watch RTE or not, under the Wireless Telegraphy Act, outdated or not. It's the law, or do we care less? Well, that's a very interesting question. Do we care or not? Right, okay. 59 families are to sue the HSC for damages after their loved ones contracted COVID-19 and died while in the care of state-run facilities and private nursing homes. Majella Beatty is founder of Care Champions and joins us on the programme now. Thank you so much for joining us, Majella.
Thank you. Good morning.
It's good to have you on the programme. So what is the liability here? What is the basis of this case?
Families, over the past 3 years have not been getting answers as to what actually happened to their loved ones. And, at this point, 59 families have taken a case because they feel they've been forced to do this. They've gone to government, they've gone to the homes themselves, and they are now finding out what happened in the final days of their loved ones' deaths. And they feel there's no other route for them to go in order to get access to information.
And is it access to the truth as well? I mean, do we know what happened?
Exactly. We don't know who was there. Was anybody there? Did they receive any medical attention? Were they in pain? Did they know they were loved? The reality is our families, many of them were given wrong information, were not told that their loved ones had COVID or were sick. We've had incidents of people ringing a nursing home and being given the information about another family member. And then, of course, as our group has developed, we've supported over 200 staff members. And, they have really confirmed families' worst fears. And it was through them, I suppose, that gives us, that little bit of push to keep going to get answers. And, we've been highlighting, there's no reform and there's no lessons. And we've been highlighting the need for urgent safeguarding laws to prevent something like this happening again. And we're seeing it right through care, in all services, be it hospitals, residential services or nursing homes. We're seeing serious failures, no learnings and no action to prevent them happening again. And, we talk about the nursing home deaths, but there was far more than the deaths. There was suffering, there was neglect, there was oftentimes abuse.
Can you give us, just to help us understand, can you give us, the outlines of a case, without going into specifics, when during the pandemic might it have happened and what was an individual's experience, if you know what I mean. If you have that off the top of your head, Magella, just so we can understand what has driven a person or a family to sort of take this action.
Okay, so maybe if I use two examples to show how there was no learning through the pandemic. So in wave one, in March 2020, the pandemic hit, the nursing homes closed down. Very early that Easter, there was an enormous outbreak in a nursing home near the north of Ireland. And in that nursing home, everything broke down, everything went wrong. At the same time, there's a similar case in Dublin. The HSE was called in, it went to the highest levels of government, and no action was taken quick enough. And over 20 people lost their lives in that nursing home, and nothing was learned. So those people had a dreadful death. There was dehydration and horrific suffering. Families have had to fight since then to try and gather through FOIs and through PQs, trying to piece together what actually happened, and their findings have been atrocious. And then we'll just skip on. Now there's hundreds of homes in between. We go to the third wave. So in the third wave in the south of Ireland, there was an outbreak where more than half of the residents of a nursing home died. In that nursing home, families were not told that there was COVID in the nursing home. It was all hearsay in the community. When it started to slip out that there was deaths in the nursing home, families were ringing in demanding answers. So one man, for example, was told his wife had walked up the corridor, when in fact this lady hadn't walked for years. It then transpired because a whistleblower had actually gone to the HSE, had gone to government saying, you need to help, we don't have the staff. There isn't experience here to try and save lives, and they were ignored. And they contacted the HSE on 3 occasions throughout that outbreak. There's X amount of people dead now. There's more dead. Will you please try and come in here and help us to save lives? And nobody took action. It took 16 days for the regulator to go in after being informed of horrific crisis. Through the research the families that ourselves have done, we have found through our own research, through not getting anything from the ministers or from HIPAA or anybody else, we have found, in fact, that this particular nursing home, in fact, lied to the HSE, pretended that they had qualifications to manage the outbreak when, in fact, they didn't. And, in fact, they didn't report 9 deceased bodies for a number of days until it got out through the radar. And in the middle of that, we had families who, when their loved one died, didn't get their bodies back for a number of days. We still don't know where those bodies were. We don't know, at that point in nursing homes, oftentimes none of the staff that were in, because we're agency staff, all their own staff were out, did they even know who these people were? So we have families standing at graves wondering, is this my loved one that's in this grave?
And like on this programme very early on, and regular listeners would know, the one issue that came up time and time again was nursing homes and what was going on in nursing homes. And really early on, around the time that you talked of, we were trying to get answers as to why people who were actually sick with COVID were being taken from acute hospitals and placed in these settings. It was happening live. This is not something that's new information that I'm going to fall off my seat hearing from you, Magella, because we were talking about it on this programme. I'm sure others were at the time. Where is the logic? Where is the logic? We'd seen in Italy where the majority of deaths were and what was happening. So I'm not sure the defence of, well, we didn't know, it was a panic situation, we were doing our best. We knew what was going on. We knew what to come, and we in these communities knew that sick people were being, COVID, it felt, was being seeded in these settings, and it was horrendous. And as I say, I've on the record a number of times on this programme saying this is going to be the biggest scandal of all of this. What are we doing? Why did we do that?
Yeah, and I think it was nearly like people in nursing homes were older. I think there's a huge issue with ageism in this country anyway, but it was like they were trying to protect the hospital systems. But apart from those major mistakes that were made in wave one, which did bring COVID into nursing homes and ultimately had to cost an awful lot of lives, nothing was learned. We continue to make the same mistakes in wave 2, wave 3, wave 4. In fact, this week I'm talking to a family that's standing outside a window of a nursing home. Where were the lessons? And, we look at all of that, but we look at Ireland has never done well behind closed doors. And you had all the key organisations. You had the social workers, you had Age Action, you had us with lived experience sending submissions into government begging them to listen. You know, people are dying, people are not safe. People deserve their human rights upheld, and nobody listened, and still nobody is listening. And that's where we're at now. Like we're at a point where we have tried to engage with the minister and the Taoiseach, and now we're going protesting again in September to try and get the truth.
Yeah, but the defence will be that this was an emergency situation with an emergency response. I've kind of counted. Right, okay, so you're on about in terms of what was learned as we moved forward. You know, this is in the area of the care of people in these settings. When you think about it, there could be thousands of cases in very many areas of health whereby certain practices were continued with no logic whatsoever. The public knew what was going on. It didn't make any sense. Why were, I don't want to go into specifics in case it sounds like I'm talking about specific cases, but I'm thinking in terms of, maternity care, for an example, or you know what I mean? I know it's not quite the same, and I know we're talking about life and death in the cases that you're taking, but you do wonder where other cases may come from as well, Majella, in different areas of healthcare, really late into the pandemic, with inexplicable decisions being made or policies not changing.
Absolutely. And, we started out with nursing homes, and then within our group, we have quite a lot of hospital cases where people would have went into hospital healthy and, may have been left in a COVID, like my own mother was left 28 hours in a COVID area in a hospital until she picked up the virus, and there was an awful lot of mistakes made. There was an awful lot of, and we're seeing the fruits of the policies that were put in place. We've heard about the Emily case recently. We're seeing evidence of when families' eyes are not allowed in there, when we don't have protection within any care facility, when we don't have somebody we love there to advocate for us, things go wrong. And things can always go wrong everywhere. But within the area of health, we don't seem to want to learn. We don't seem to want to bring out reports. We don't seem to want to highlight the truth so that we can learn.
But the government did the government not commit to holding an inquiry into this? And I seem to recall that it might have been Leo Varadkar that says we will have a look into all of this. It won't be a headhunting exercise. It won't be about to attribute blame to individuals, but to sort of review what we did and how things could improve. Does that not go far enough then in waiting to find out what comes from that and what answers are discovered?
Yeah, it was the now tarnished Micheál Martin.
Okay,
when he was Taoiseach, he said we wouldn't have a headhunt. When Leo Varadkar then became Taoiseach again, he announced in January that we would have a full public inquiry. What we have been requesting is that families as experts and residents who've survived would be consulted in advance of the terms of reference, similar to what they've done in the UK. But we have not been engaged with, none of our families have been engaged with at all. We have requested consistently meetings so that we can be heard. Like, there is no point in doing a tokenistic inquiry. It has to be an inquiry that is human rights led. It has to be an inquiry that will see where the serious faults were, and more importantly, ensure that this never happens again. Families can't move on. They're tortured by what happened maybe 3 years ago, 2 years ago. And we cannot allow any other families to go through this.
Okay. Thanks for your time this morning, Majella. I do appreciate it. Majella Beattie, founder of Care Champions.
Have you heard about Charlie's chips? They're made from potatoes that are carefully selected, then peeled, cut, and like everything else at Charlie's in Letterkenny, cooked to order. That's why they taste so good. From 12 right through to 8 in the evening, Charlie's at Pierce Road, Letterkenny offer an extensive menu that includes a great selection of gluten-free options, all available to sit in or take away. The next time the hunger hits, pull into Charlie's.
All men's wedding suits packages are now 20% off. Just book your wedding suits before August 31st and get a whopping 20% off. Don't stand still. Evolve. Letterkenny Retail Park. Terms and conditions apply.
Dirkfest Music Festival Castledurg presents Teenfest 2023, Northern Ireland's biggest teenage music festival. Monday, July 31st from 7 p.m. to midnight, with top DJs and artists performing in our Big Top 10 plus other great attractions. An unmissable party for kids of secondary school age, with tickets just £25. See dirkfest.co.uk.
With 232 underway, it's not too late to secure your new Nissan. With the all-electric Leaf, the petrol and hybrid Juke, the new X-Trail available in a 5 or 7-seater 4-wheel drive e-Power hybrid, and the Nissan Qashqai petrol and e-Power hybrid, all available for immediate delivery. Visit iMotors in Letterkenny to find out more. Open 6 days a week.
Experience comfort like never before at half the price in our massive hotel quality mattress sale now on at Better Value Furnishings Moville. Due to overstocking, we must clear hundreds of mattresses at half price. Get your quality mattress at half price and sleep like a king. Better Value Furnishings, Main Street, Moville. See our Facebook for more details.
Right, okay, a caller says there are 2 railways in Donegal. Maybe connect them and start from there. Bonnesmole Railway. Wow, what a journey even for tourists. Well, there was a whole string of Donegal Town, Ballyshannon to Donegal, wasn't it? Donegal Town to Killybegs. Donegal Town then through the Gap, obviously, up to Ballybofey. There's a whole network. Inishowen as well, too. And I think if you were in Inishowen, you wouldn't be holding out any hope of a rail line ever returning there, because it doesn't seem to be part of the conversation. Climate change is great for surfers, tanners, but not for cancer, rare animals and plants in the future of the world, says a listener. Assume the railway report starts with Once Upon a Time, another expensive report that will gather dust. That comes in from Martin, who, by the sounds of things, Martin, and I'm only reading a very short message, it sounds like you're not optimistic they'll follow through on it. That's the feeling I'm getting. Hi, Greg. Sign up in Ards Forest Park. Dogs must be all kept on leads, but people are ignoring this, and it's really causing problems for us dog walkers. With our dogs on leads, then other dogs are running loose chasing our dogs. Yeah, that's not good, is it? Here's one for you from a listener who messaged me yesterday, and thank you for that, because now I remembered. Right, I have a query, please. Will you please ask your listeners if anyone successfully overcame a phobia such as a fear of dogs with the help of hypnosis or other? Okay, so that's a listener who is considering hypnosis to overcome a phobia of dogs, or maybe there are other phobias as well. It's an interesting question. Have any of you out there ever successfully gotten over your phobia through hypnosis or maybe acupuncture or something? I think they're looking for an alternative. Another listener says the only Twin Tans bypass we'll have for a long time is using the narrow bridge known locally as Barney Logues Bridge, which is a nightmare at best. Indeed, it is one that I have frequented from time to time. Not the type of road, in parts at least, that you want to meet traffic and pulling out from that bridge too. If we're on about the same bridge, I'm sure we are. You do feel like you're risking it, which is not an emotion you want when you're driving, is it? Okay, that's the first hour of the 9 till noon show sorted. Thank you very much for listening, but don't go anywhere. We're going to take a break now for the news and the obituary notices, which I know many of you tuned in for and are waiting for, but stay with us thereafter, because we've got another interesting and busy 2 hours for you. Back after these.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at The Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system, and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
The new Volkswagen ID Buzz. Fully electric, fully connected, full of new ideas. An icon of a new era. The all-electric ID Buzz combines comfort, sustainable mobility, and fun wherever you take it. Available now with 0% PCP finance from just $259 per month for July 2023 registration only. Book a test drive today with Connolly's Volkswagen Letterkenny or see connolly's.ie. Terms and conditions apply. Finance provided by way of hire purchase agreement from Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland and is subject to lending criteria. Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Visit connolly's.ie for further information.
Your specialty is quality tiles, bathroom suites and wooden floors. Who is the best range of tiles in Donegal?
Crawford Tiles.
The best wood flooring?
Crawford Tiles.
The best bathroom suites?
Crawford Tiles.
5-day bathroom refits?
Crawford Tiles.
And who's been tampering with my questions?
That'll be me.
Crawford Tiles, Castlefin. That'll be them. 07491 43942.
Fabric World's hot summer sale is now on. Over 5,000 metres of curtain and upholstery now half price or less. Lining from £1. Up to 20% of craft cotton. Hot discounts in our summer sandals and fashion department. And there's always fabulous Euro rates at Fabric World Maydown Derry.
The one you've been waiting for. The McElhinney's summer sale is now on, with up to 40% off across almost all departments and massive savings across your favourite brands. Don't miss out on amazing offers. Shop in store at McElhinney's Ballybuffet or online at mcelhinney's.com.
Experience comfort like never before at half the price in our massive hotel quality mattress sale now on at Better Value Furnishings Moville. Due to overstocking, we must clear hundreds of mattresses at half price. Get your quality mattress at half price and sleep like a king. Better Value Furnishings, Main Street, Moville. See our Facebook for more details.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, I'm Michaela Clark with the news at 10 o'clock. A High Court in India has ordered that the trial of the man accused of the murder of Donegal woman Danielle McLaughlin be expedited. The 28-year-old was killed in Goa on March the 14th, 2017. The orders to expedite the trial were issued by the High Court while rejecting the bail plea filed by Vigat Bhagat, who has been charged with Miss McLaughlin's murder. He applied for bail on the grounds that he has been in jail for 6.5 years, with the trial nowhere close to completion. The trial court has now been requested to conclude within 1 year. Danielle's mother, Andrea Brannigan, is confident that justice will be served.
I'm hopeful that it will be over, and I'm glad he got refused bail again yesterday, because there's always a worry in my head that he will get out. So hopefully now it will be concluded within the year and Danielle will finally get some kind of justice.
Police in Derry are continuing to appeal for information on the whereabouts of a missing man last seen in Buncrana on Sunday. They say they are becoming increasingly concerned for 61-year-old Patrick Hargan. He's described as being 5'6" in height with grey hair and was wearing blue jeans and a check shirt when he went missing. Anyone with any information regarding the whereabouts of Patrick is asked to contact police on 101. The All-Ireland Rail Review, set to be published later this month, proposes Donegal, Cavan and Monaghan be connected to the National Rail Network for the first time in decades. Transport Minister Eamon Ryan last week, in confirming that he will be bringing a memo to Cabinet in the coming weeks, said moves are already being made in anticipation of a re-established Atlantic Railway corridor. Richard Lowe, campaigner for Better Transport, told today's 9 till noon show that the idea of the re-establishment of rail in Donegal bodes well with the promotion of the North West as a city region. He is, however, concerned as to how long it will take for people to be able to avail of improved infrastructure.
The concern I've got is, what's the timescale? I mean, one of the rabbits that was pulled out of the hat there this morning was the mention of Cavan and Monaghan. That would certainly be a big improvement, but they're not talking about even getting the railway line from Dunboyne to Navan until around about the 2040s. So what sort of timescale are we actually talking about?
There are fears there will be further delays to the opening of the new Children's Hospital due to a rift between BAM and the board. It's reported the contractors have refused to meet with board members and are avoiding interacting with investigators hired to do a review of work on the site. A representative for BAM told the Irish Times it has fully engaged with the board so far. BAM's most recent progress report predicts the hospital will be complete by May 2024, 21 months behind schedule. Sinn Féin's health spokesperson David Cullinan says the working relationship between the board and BAM needs to be improved.
There is essentially what I would describe as open warfare between the board overseeing the development of the hospital and the main contractor. I don't believe that suits anybody. It certainly doesn't suit the taxpayer. It doesn't suit the children who need this hospital built as quickly as possible. It's very unseemly, in my view, and what we need is a resolution.
The Minister for Disabilities, Anne Rabbitte, will officially open the Community Inclusion Dunno Hub today. The facility provides a HSC-run day service for school leavers and young adults with intellectual disabilities in the Rosses, Dunno and surrounding areas. It aims to help adults build independence, set personal goals and support them in living their life. Deborah Smith, CI Dunno Hub Coordinator, says it is a welcomed addition to services in the area.
There's a day service for young school leavers and young adults in the Rosses, Dunlow and surrounding areas, which provides a service for adults between the ages of 18 to 65 years with intellectual disabilities across the county. So it's brilliant now to have a location based in Dunlow that's available to our service users within the local locality. So we're thrilled to be having our official opening now today.
Weather now rain clearing this morning with brighter weather and showers developing this afternoon. Highest temperatures of 17 or 18 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with an update again at 11 o'clock. Until then, good morning. The obituary notices for this Tuesday morning, July the 18th. The death has taken place of Liz McGlinchey, née Stewart, Brookside House, Cove Hill, Port Road, Letterkenny, and formerly from Westport, Ballyshannon. Liz's remains will be reposing at her late residence this afternoon from 2 o'clock until 10 o'clock and tomorrow from 12 noon until 10 o'clock, with rosary both nights at 9 o'clock. Funeral from there on Thursday morning at 10:30, going to St Eunan's Cathedral, Letterkenny, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, which can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Private cremation will follow at Lakeland's Crematorium Cavan. Family time on the morning of the funeral, please. The death has occurred of Teresa O'Donnell, née Duffy, Clonbeg, Buncrana. Removal from Murphy's Funeral Home this afternoon at 3 o'clock to her late residence. Removal from there on Thursday morning at 10:30 to St Mary's Church, Cockhill, for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Teresa's Requiem Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family time, please, from 11 p.m. until 11 a.m. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu of desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member or Murphy Funeral Directors. The death has occurred of Danny Sharkey, Ella Begg Burnfoot, retired principal of St Angus's National School Bridgend and former presenter on Highland Radio. Reposing at Murphy's Funeral Home tomorrow on Thursday from 4 o'clock until 10 o'clock and on Friday afternoon from 3 o'clock, with removal at 6 o'clock to St Angus's Church Burt to repose overnight. Requiem Mass on Saturday morning at 11 o'clock, followed by interment in Burt Cemetery. Danley's Requiem Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu of desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member or Murphy Funeral Directors. The death has occurred of Kathleen Irwin, 19 Mulroney Terrace, Stranorlar. Funeral leaving from her late residence on Thursday morning at 10:30 for Requiem Mass in the Church of Mary Immaculate, Stranorlar at 11 o'clock. Interment afterwards in Drumbo Cemetery. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live via the parish webcam. Donations in lieu of flowers, if so desired, directly to the Donegal Hospice or care of any family member. The house is private to family, neighbours and close friends, please. The death has taken place of Harry Parker, Craigs Road, Rafo. His remains are reposing at his late residence. House private, please. Removal from his home tomorrow afternoon at 1:30 for 2 o'clock funeral service in Rafo Presbyterian Church, followed by burial in the family plot in the adjoining graveyard. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu of desired to the North West Branch Parkinson's Association of Ireland, care of Terence McClintock, Funeral Director. The death has occurred of Christy McCarran, 384 Ardbeath in St Johnston, County Donegal. Christy will be reposing from his late residence this morning at 11 o'clock and all day tomorrow. Funeral leaving his late residence on Thursday morning at 10:15, going to St Beathan's Church, St Johnston for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu of desired to the Friends of Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member or Kelly's Funeral Directors. The death has taken place of Michael Jim Quinn, Ross Bracken, Letterkenny and formerly of Backhill, Minagori, Buncrana. Jim's remains are reposing at Ross Bracken. Funeral leaving there at 2 o'clock this afternoon, going to the Quinn family home, Minagori, Buncrana, to repose overnight. Funeral from there at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, travelling to St Mary's Church, Cockhill for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock. Jim's remains will be leaving the Porter Funeral Home at 1:30 tomorrow afternoon, travelling to Lakelands Crematorium, Cavan. The death has taken place of John Burke, Gulladuff, Moville. Family time please from 8 p.m. until 11 a.m. John's Requiem Mass will take place tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock in St Columbus Church, Ballinacray, Moville, followed by burial in the adjoining graveyard. And the death has taken place of Eileen Byrne, Carrick McGrath, Ballybuffet. Remains reposing at her late residence. Funeral leaving from there this morning at 10:20 for Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Shesh O'Neill at 11 o'clock, with interment in the adjoining churchyard. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live via the parish YouTube channel. Donations in lieu of flowers, if so desired, directly to the Donegal Hospice or care of any family member. Family time before the funeral today. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
While on his lunch break at work, Sean switched to 48 Mobile. He got all data, calls and texts for the limited time offer of $6.50. That made him feel like he scored a goal. Yes! So he celebrated by pulling his shirt up over his head and knee sliding across his boss's desk. Good call, Sean. 48 Mobile. Good call. Subject to fair usage. $12.99 a month after the first 3 months. $6.50 one-time activation fee. See 48.ie.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
And you're very welcome back to the second hour of this Tuesday's 9 till Noon Show. Good morning if you have just tuned in. You are very welcome along. And I also want to say a very good morning to Bernie, Duncan, Annie, John, Audrey and Michael, who are watching us live across our social media. And just to remind you that you can watch the show live every day for 3 hours on our YouTube channel, Highland Radio Ireland. That's good for your phone, laptop, tablet, your smart TV, which normally has the YouTube app on it now, and also, of course, your Fire Stick. And we're also on Facebook, Highland Hub or Highland Radio News and Sport. Coming up very shortly, Garda Sergeant Ewan Walsh will be joining us in studio with Community Garda information for this Tuesday, so stay tuned for that. That and so much more besides. We're going to take the bingo numbers now and we'll return in just a couple of moments.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Tuesday, July 18th. You're playing on a brown coloured sheet. The reference number is S2. It's game number 29. The numbers are 90, 22, 88, 83, the number 6, 77, 13, 54, the number 3, and 79. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 p.m. tonight, leaving your name, contact number, and the name of the shop where you purchased your book. Get all your NCBI Radio Bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Evolve Clothing, biggest summer sale now on. Evolve Clothing, biggest summer sale now on. Evolve Clothing, biggest summer sale now on at Letterkenny Retail Park or evolveclothing.com.
The Big Band Country Nights at Lokes of Cranford continue this Tuesday with Olivia Douglas and her band. That's another Big Band Country Night this Tuesday with Olivia Douglas at Lokes of Cranford, where you will also find music in the wee bar on Saturdays and old-time dancing on Sundays.
McCullough Jewellers in Letterkenny are synonymous with fine jewellery, quality watches and giftware. With stores at Main Street, Letterkenny and the Letterkenny Shopping Centre, or online at rmccullough.com. You can choose from their quality product range in a relaxed atmosphere, and their sales staff will be happy to help you make the right choice, whatever the occasion. McCullough Jewellers, making moments magical for generations.
The Community Garda information slot is brought to you by Sheridan Security Systems, protecting what you value most. Call today and get your zero-wire alarm system from €299. Sheridan Security, 91-26025.
Okay, this is the 9 till noon show here in Highland Radio. Now it's time for Community Garda information. We're joined this week by Garda Sergeant Eugene Walsh from the Letterkenny Garda Station. Eugene, good morning to you. Oh, Eugene, sorry. Good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.
I won't call you Donald, Greg, but I'm fine. How are you?
I don't think, have you got a Eugene colleague? Anyway, right, thanks very much for calling in, Eugene.
Thank you.
And hopefully now the public will be able to help with some of these appeals. And we'll have some information for you a little later on as well. But first, we'll start with an appeal as it relates to a fatal road traffic collision in Burnfoot.
Yes, Greg, Gardaí and Buncrana are investigating a single vehicle fatal road traffic collision that occurred in the townland of Tubin on the R238, the main Burnfoot Buncrana Road last Friday, the 14th of July at approximately 4:30 p.m. The male driver in his mid-60s was seriously injured when the car he was driving struck a ditch. He was removed from the scene to Letterkenny University Hospital, Greg, in a serious condition, and unfortunately he sadly passed away in hospital, and he's been named locally as Jim Quinn, a local man from Buncrana. A female passenger in her early 60s was not injured during the collision. So Gardaí and Buncrana are appealing for any witnesses to the collision to come forward, and again, anybody who travelled in the area around the time and who has dashcam to make it available to the Gardaí. And again, anybody information to contact Buncrana Garda Station 07493 20540, that's 93-20540, or again, the confidential line 1800 666 111.
Yes, and the public's assistance being sought in relation to a road traffic collision in Moville.
Yes, this happened last Thursday morning, Greg, in the townland of Leckamy, Moville, between 7:45am and 8:40am, so sometime Thursday morning. A motorist was travelling along the R238, the Carndonagh to Moville Road, and was travelling behind the lorry when a stone, the back of the trailer that was attached to the lorry, fell off and smashed the windscreen of his car. The motorist also was struck by the stone and had to receive hospital treatment for injuries sustained. So in the first instance, Greg, it's possible that the driver of the lorry may not be aware that this happened, and we're asking the driver of the lorry to come forward. And again, anybody who travelled along that route on the morning in question to contact the Gardaí if they have any information. Again, if you have dash cam and you're in the area, around the area at the time, to make it available to the Gardaí. At Buncrana, again, 07493 20540, or again, the confidential line 1800 666 111.
Yep, and in that instance, it's not necessarily the dash cam footage catching the instance,
yes.
but it's the movement of vehicles.
Yes, so
shocking experience for the driver there, and a reminder, I suppose, of the responsibility to ensure any loads are fully secure.
And again, as you say, somebody in the area at the time might have footage of the lorry maybe travelling along the road 10 or 15 minutes, or maybe 10 or 15 minutes before or after the collision. So as you say, it's important that's provided to us.
Right, okay. And another appeal about an RTC. This is going back a week.
Yes, this is going back to May. This is going back to Saturday the 20th of May, Greg. The reason for the appeal is that we believe somebody in the area has information that will be of assistance to the investigation. So it's a collision that occurred in the car park known as McElhenny's Car Park on Main Street, Ballybofey. A black Skoda Octavia was parked at the location when it was struck on the passenger side by a silver or gold type Skoda Octavia also. So it's believed that the driver of the car in question waited a while in the area and then left, unfortunately. So we're appealing for the driver to make contact with the Gardaí, and again, anybody who was in the area at the time, but we do believe somebody in the area has relevant information, and we're asked to provide it to Gardaí Letterkenny 07491 67100.
Okay, now Garda investigating an assault in Carndonagh.
Yes, this is an assault that occurred last Friday night, the 7th of July, at the Diamond in Carndonagh. A male person was assaulted by 3 other males and had to receive treatment at Letterkenny University Hospital, where fortunately his injuries are not life-threatening in nature. At the time of the incident, the marquee in the Diamond event was taking place in Carndonagh. So this means, Greg, that there have been more people than usual in the area at the time. And again, anybody witnessed the incident or has any information to make it available to Gardaí at Buncrana, 07493, again, 20540.
All right, okay. And Gardaí and Buncrana investigating a theft there too.
Yes, this is a nasty theft which occurred in the Elm Park area of Buncrana between July the 15th and the 17th. Again, it's residents had purchased flowers and planted them within the park and stolen between the above named dates. And again, anybody information in relation to the theft of the flowers and damage there, to contact the Gardaí Buncrana, 07493 20540.
Right, okay. Now, a series of instances that your colleagues in the Ballyshannon district are dealing with.
Yes, this is a number of break-ins to vacant houses in the Ballyshannon district. And again, in many of the instances, Greg, the occupiers wouldn't have discovered the thefts or the crimes until they came back to their holiday homes for weekends or summertime. So a burglary took place at a vacant house between April the 29th and June the 29th in the area of Leganarca in Ardra. And in this instance, the front door of the property was damaged and entry was gained. And again, the garden shed door, like a lot of the crimes being committed in the area at the time, was forced open. And again, between June the 30th and July the 12th, entry was gained to a vacant holiday home in Doolin, Kilcar, with substantial damage caused to the property and serious it ransacked inside. Also between June the 1st and July the 12th, a burglary occurred at a vacant cottage in the Largy Brack area of Glencolmkill, and again damage was caused to the front door and entry gained. And again, if anybody noticed any suspicious activity in any of the above named areas in recent times, we asked them to make contact with the Gardaí at Ballyshannon, 07198 58530. That's 07198 58530, or again, the confidential line 1-800 666 111.
Yeah, all right. So there clearly is an MO here. Certain properties are being targeted. And I suppose some general advice
yes,
for
some
people
general
with these
advice,
properties.
Greg. We're advising people who own holiday homes or stay in them to ensure that the properties are well secured when they're away. And again, do not leave any valuables or large amounts of cash within them. These people are after the quick gain, in and out, get the valuables, cash, jewellery, etc. And again, if possible, leave a key with a trusted neighbour or friend and ask them to keep an eye on the property for you. And again, we're asking people to remain alert, to look out for the elderly, vulnerable neighbours, and to always report suspicious activity or vehicles to the Gardaí. And again, try to provide as much possible as details in your report: registration, number of vehicle, colour of vehicle, direction of travel, etc. And again,
and just in relation to that, people don't want to be seen as busybodies or taking up Garda time, or but I mean, it's these little bits of information
small pieces,
that are critical to investigating and also keeping communities safe, aren't they? Like so don't doubt yourself. If something looks off, don't post it on, well, you can post it on Facebook, whatever people want to do individually, but that is really valuable information for Gardaí.
It is. You may be reporting a car that's acting suspiciously, and we may have details of that vehicle already, maybe in another area, and it's allow us to progress to where the car has moved to, things like that, Greg.
Yeah, and I think you're going to say also, it's important to registration number of vehicles, where they were heading or coming from, and if there are people out of the vehicles, their accents, hair colour, clothing, that type of stuff, useful information.
And again, so we have some information, it'll be posted on our Facebook page in relation to, again, the usual crime prevention advice for people on holidays. Night time of year, we're all going away. Leave a car in the driveway if possible. Gives the impression that there's somebody at home. Obviously, ensure that the car that you're leaving is locked, and do not leave any cash or valuables inside. Cancel any deliveries, such as milk, and ask someone to collect your post, especially if you're getting something delivered by courier, which will be left at your front door for a number of days. Ask somebody to come and collect it. Lock away your wheelie bins, ladders and other tools that could be used to climb or force entry to your house. Keep your garden tidy, and if you're away for a prolonged period, maybe have somebody cut your grass. Secure your garden shed with good quality lock, and independently secure your bikes and other high value items. And again, as I said, cash and jewellery remain the target items for these people. So don't keep large amounts of cash at home, and either take your jewellery with you or invest in a good quality safe. And again, consider installing a video doorbell. They're becoming very affordable, and allows you to remotely answer a call to your door, which again gives the impression that somebody is at home. And again, the last thing is posting photos when you're on holidays of your trip. Again, we all like to go away and relax and tell people where we are, but there may be somebody looking in on your Facebook page and said, hey, these guys are on holidays.
Yeah.
You know.
And it's not always friends, it's friends of friends,
Friends
or,
of friends,
or bogus
yes,
accounts.
yes.
And listen, all of the advice points to the fact that these people are professionals at what they do. They'll choose the path of least resistance and they know what to look out for. Something as simple as it seems the wheelie bin lying out for a couple of weeks or the grass going uncut. These are real strong indicators. And
yes.
They're it's not
And
probably
as
to
you
a
say,
bee then.
they prefer to break into a house where there's nobody present.
Yeah, okay. Notify Gardaí that your home will be vacant too as well. That's another one people might be reluctant to do. Talk to us a little bit about that.
We do include your address in our patrols, where we send out an email to station party to such and such. Maybe Mr. Greg Hughes is on holidays from this date to that date, and his house at the address will be vacant, and to keep an eye on it during your patrols.
All right, okay. All good advice there, and sometimes it's too late when you're the victim of one of these crimes, so we have to be proactive sometimes, all the time, really. Okay, now back to the theft of a motorcycle.
Yes, a red Benelli motorcycle, registration number 191C8370. That's a red motorbike. 191C8370 was stolen from the Glencar area of Letterkenny last Tuesday night between 9 p.m. Tuesday 11th and 7 a.m. on Wednesday the 12th. So sometime Tuesday night. If anybody observes suspicious activity in the area or seen the motorbike, to contact the Gardaí at Letterkenny 074 91 67 100. The bike was located, Greg, in the forest area beside Ballymacool Woods. And again, if you saw the bike on the roads or saw anything suspicious, to contact the Gardaí in Letterkenny.
Right, okay. Now, last evening, your colleagues, the PSNI, released information as it relates to a missing persons appeal, Ewan.
Yes, our colleagues in the PSNI are looking for our assistance and assistance of the public in an attempt to locate a missing person, Patrick Harrigan. Patrick is approximately 61 years of age and he's missing from the Derry area. He's described as 5'6" with grey hair, wearing blue jeans and a check shirt. And there's a possible sighting of Patrick in the Buncrana area last Sunday, Greg, the 16th, and our colleagues in Buncrana are carrying out inquiries at the minute. So as anybody has information in relation to Patrick's whereabouts, contact the Gardaí or the PSNI at 04890 650 222. That's 04890 650 222. Photos of Patrick is available on the Police Derry City and Strabane Facebook page, and I believe you've also shared the images, Greg.
Indeed. And if you're in Northern Ireland, you can call the PSNI directly on 101. Now, you were talking earlier on about marking property.
Yes. So
and there's a couple of marking events coming up, and this is vital in getting property back to its owners, because we don't talk about it because it's not the nature of appeal, but the Gardaí are actively recovering stolen goods all of the time, but it's connecting those stolen goods then back to whomever might actually own them.
So our property marking consists of marking the property with your air code. So if we locate stolen property and your air code's on it, again, it's easy to find out. Type in the air code, we have the address and we have the owner. So we're having 2 property marking events in the Letterkenny district area. The first is Saturday the 29th, which is Saturday week, is it?
Mm-hmm.
It's at Dromahal football pitch between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. So come along with all your valuable property and get it marked. The second event will take place at Cloughan Community Centre on the same date, Saturday 29th, between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. So again, a good opportunity to permanently mark your trailers with your air code. Please ensure that you have your correct air code with you, and everybody's welcome to come along.
And as you say, the Garda Síochána Facebook page is a fantastic resource, regularly updated, and it'll have details of those marking events on it as well as that advice that we heard Ewan talk of earlier in terms of securing your property. Simple stuff, but stuff that will make a difference. Right. A listener contacted the show last week as they had a query in relation to which side of the road a cyclist should use. I think I could answer this one, I think.
Well, the answer to the question is that it's probably one of the questions at the bottom. Is it the €100 question? It's not the $1 million question.
No, it's not. No, it's one of
the answer to the question is the cyclist should also travel on the left-hand side of the road in the same direction as the flow of traffic. So just to reassure your listeners that cyclists are also subject to the same rules or roads as cars and other vehicles on a road. So A bicycle is a vehicle and is subject to the same regulations in relation to dangerous driving, careless driving, and there are a number of fines on the spots which can be issued to cyclists.
If it's a one-way street?
That's a good question.
You can only go
with the
presumably
direction of traffic unless
you?
there is a specific cycle lane going against it.
Yeah, exactly.
One-way street with the flow of traffic.
On the road.
On the road, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
okay. So, yeah, what you might do in a footpath or a cycle lane that allows you to go in the other direction, that depends locally. But if there's no alternative,
No
you go with
alternative
the
route,
traffic.
you go with the flow of traffic on the road and not on the footpath.
Again, you know, some of this is common sense, but I think that's off the back of maybe people having a conversation about it and wanting it clarified. Okay, a listener contacted the show last week with this question: how common is drink spiking within our region? Hearing horror stories that a group are coming into the county and spiking drinks in local bars. People whose drink is spiked instantly get uncomfortable and hot and have to go outside for fresh air, and then the group is waiting there to take their bags, wallets, as they're all also disorientated. Now, one person says this happened to them, and then it gets widely shared on Facebook, and then people believe that this is a common occurrence. Now, this is not to say it doesn't happen, but I suppose if it were happening at a very regular rate, there'd be some references on the pulse system, etc.
Yes.
So what is the
So
situation?
we did check it. Grania checked it for me, and we have not received any similar reports to what this listener described within our Donegal division. I know we had some last year, which are currently still being investigated. However, if anybody has suspected that this happened to them and has not reported, we advise them to do so. So again, I may just give some advice in relation to
because this is
possibly
a very serious crime,
possibly a concerned parent, and
Yeah.
it's the time of year with exam results are coming out and all the discos and things like that, and people 17 or 18 may be going out for the first time. So if your drink has been in spike, Greg, it's unlikely that you'll see, smell or taste any difference. Some drugs may taste slightly salty or smell unusual. If you start to feel strange or more drunk than you should be, you should get help immediately. So the common advices are as following: never leave your drink unattended, and keep an eye on your friends' drinks also. Do not accept drink from someone you do not know. The simple things. Consider sticking to bottled drinks if you are concerned, and avoid punch bowls of drugs or cocktails. And again, don't give your address out to someone who you've just met. And if you think your drink's been tampered with, do not drink it. Tell a trusted friend or relative immediately. And before going out, let someone know where you're going and what time you expect to be home at. And again, always make plans for your journey home. Avoid taking expensive equipment with you or anything that could be a target for thieves. And again, if you're travelling abroad, be aware of the local areas and where you should be able to find help if needed.
All right, good advice. Garda Sergeant Ewan Walsh, thanks for your time today. Really
Greg,
do appreciate
thank you.
it.
Have
We'll
a nice
see
week.
you soon. Okay, that was Community Garda Information with Garda Sergeant Ewan Walsh this week. It'll be back with you on this show after the 10 o'clock news next week. And if you want to listen back or watch back, it's on our podcast, or will also be available on our Facebook pages and the Facebook page of An Garda Síochána.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
Dunstore's Double Savers makes midweek meals simple and affordable. Step 1. Cook your Dunstore's penne pasta, just 70 cent. Step 2. Dice and roast an aubergine and a courgette, just 49 cent each. Step 3. Add cherry tomatoes and some €1.09 Greek feta cheese. Step 4. Enjoy a delicious pasta dish for just €4.25. Then save at the till with our 5 off 25 grocery vouchers. Double Savers from Dunstores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next in-store grocery shop of €25 or more.
Donegal's premier summer event, Errigal Arts Festival, brings you fantastic events for all ages and all backgrounds. This July 8th to 23rd. Enjoy award-winning music, theatre, circus, visual and street arts, in person from the offshore islands and the West Donegal Giltuct to the lowlands of East Donegal and the shores of the Inishowen Peninsula. Visit eaf.ie for full details on Errigal Arts Festival, proudly supported by Donegal County Council.
New this week at Home Store and More. All school bags are all half price. But better hurry, because when all the half price school bags are gone, they're gone. Also, all indoor clothes errors and all outdoor cushions are still all half price. But when all the half price indoor clothes errors and all the half price outdoor cushions are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More, or visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. New store now open in Frascati Centre, Blackrock, Dublin. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Beggs & Partners are a specialist local plumbing, heating and bathroom supplier. Established in Belfast 1960, we now have 12 branches and are known for quality, value and reliability. Our latest branch in Springtown Drive, Buncrana Road, Derry includes a beautiful bathroom showroom as well as a fully stocked plumbing and heating trade sales counter. Delivery service available. See beggsandpartners.com.
Okay, joined on the programme now by John Madden. Good morning, John. Thanks for taking the time and thanks for taking our call, by the way. We do appreciate it.
No problem, Greg.
You used your platform and your experience to point out issues as it relates to access to care in this country, and you made the comparison between cancer and Alzheimer's. For the benefit of listeners, John, what was your point?
My point is that cancer, which is a disease, is rightly treated at great expense by the state or by a private insurance company. As it should be, as most diseases are. But there is one disease that affects predominantly the elderly, Alzheimer's disease, where you have to pay large amounts of money for the care you need. You have to give up a large chunk of your assets and a large chunk of your income. And no other disease attracts that kind of treatment by the state.
Is there any historical reason as to why two diseases would be treated differently like this?
Well, the main reason is there is no effective treatment for Alzheimer's. There are new drugs coming on the market which slow it down, and there is a blood test on the way which will predict whether you are likely or not likely to get Alzheimer's, and if you're one of the people who are sadly likely to get it, those drugs could be started earlier and might have better results by starting them earlier.
Yeah, the one thing I heard some commentary on that, and listen, any innovation or any advancement in drugs is to be welcomed, but concerns that in relation to Alzheimer's that we don't necessarily have the structures to get benefit from that in terms of, access and early access to scans and what have you. So historically, we are behind the curve in terms of the diagnosis, treatment, and of course funding of Alzheimer care.
Yeah, well, everything comes down to money in the end, and I suppose the people in the HSE have to prioritise where to spend the money. Boris Johnson, when he was fighting the last election, promised to give care for Alzheimer's, but then, of course, like lots of politicians, he forgot his promise as soon as he got in.
Yeah, and I think this might go under the radar to some extent, John, because, obviously Alzheimer's, like cancer, but it's a very personal experience, and we have thousands and thousands and thousands of families going through this all in the same position. Maybe there's better organisation in terms of representation for cancer care. I don't know how we could see this sort of difference in how these two diseases are treated other than something like that.
Well, yeah, but something should be done. I mean, the deal they have at the moment for looking after people who sadly can no longer be looked after in their homes, in other words, nursing home care, is called the Fair Deal Scheme. I don't think it's particularly a fair deal at all. I think there needs to be a closer integration of social care and medical care, and the fact that somebody needs to be in a nursing home with a disease that's basically incurable at the moment shouldn't mean that they have to pay through the nose for it.
Yeah, and as you say, give up their home to fund care. Okay, John, listen, Thank you so much for your time and explaining that for our listeners. I do appreciate it. John Madden there, 086 60 25,000 if you have a comment to make on that or anything else for that matter. Let's get to some of your comments here. Many people are not cutting the grass anymore for nature, so uncut grass does not mean a house is vacant. I'm not sure many are. I do know exactly what you're saying, but anyway, that's just part of it. Maybe these people watch your property and they're from your community and they're passing on information, and maybe you normally do and then you don't. It's sort of not one particular thing. It could be a series of indicators. So if your lawn's not cut, there's post at your front door and your bin's not been taken back, I think it's a sort of series of indicators that they might go by rather than everything being normal, but your grass is long. But I take your point, and thanks for that. Hi, Greg. Was listening about the case for nursing home against the state. I lost my mother in a hospital. The mistakes in communication was horrible. When they were on the phone to me arranging my mum to come home, she was in fact already gone. I never got to see her. We need to know the facts. I'm grateful to be part of Care Champions. As families, we support each other in this fight for justice. And what a horrific experience for you to be speaking about the future and getting your mum home, even perhaps if it was for end of life care, but then to have the situation that you found out that she'd actually passed is a horrendous experience for you. Right, okay. We had a listener contacted me last evening who was wondering if anyone had any success in overcoming a phobia of dogs, for an example, through hypnosis or any other measures. I love this show because people listen and then they text in. Kira said, "Hi Greg, I had an awful fear of animals for as long as I remembered, but never remembered being attacked or bitten. I had hypnotherapy done in my 30s and it didn't just happen overnight, but I got over my crippling fear and ended up with 2 dogs. I was that bad, I'd lock myself in my car if I seen a cat or a dog or a bird near me. I wouldn't visit friends or family if they had any pets. I now don't have to cross a road when I see any type of animal. I don't feel threatened, or I don't threaten to move out of home if there's a mouse or a spider lurking. It's tough going and emotional, obviously dependent on a reason for the fear, but all I can say is it worked for me." And Hugh Quinn Insight Hypnotherapy, they attended in Frosses. Ciara, and I think Ciara's picked up on what the listener's problem is. This isn't just an inconvenience. This is a crippling fear whereby it interferes with your everyday life. Right, okay. Hi, can you tell listeners that there's long tailbacks and delays on the Letterkenny to Derry Road at Newtown Cunningham due to resurfacing of the main road? Indeed, and someone else was complaining as to why that work can't be done overnight. Via email, a lot of people are saying they won't pay the TV licence. Is it true the government are introducing a new broadcasting charge to replace the licence and will take it automatically out of your wages like property tax? Well, that was being discussed. It was a broadcasting charge and there was conversations of it being taken by revenue. So in other words, inescapable. So you couldn't say that's not a TV, it's a microwave. It would be taken, and it would be whether you had a laptop, anything, a phone, anything in your property that you could view online content or content online from, not just a television. That died off to some extent because I don't think there was a great public appetite for it, particularly given what you're getting for it. You know what I mean? Like, you can watch Netflix, you pay Netflix, and if it's crap, you cancel your subscription and you go, I'm not watching that nonsense anymore. The problem with the broadcasting charges is that it would be to fund RTE and you would have no choice. So even if you never watched it, say you're paying Sky, whatever you're paying Sky, you never watched RTE, you still would be obliged to pay this charge, which would then fund RTE. So through the jigs and the reels, people weren't too happy about that. And there was no mention of it then. It seemed to have fallen off the table. But now the conversation is back as to how the media is funded in this country. That's going to be one of the options they look at. But I don't think there's any appetite to compel people via revenue at this time to help support an organisation that clearly has a culture within it which has been exposed over the last little while. So I don't know how it's going to play out. I know there's going to be a potential €55 million hole in RTE's finances if people continue to not pay the licence fee at the rate they are at the moment. But they will be bailed out by the state, which is your money anyway. So they're in a win-win. Greg, maybe one fine day the so-called or the so-labelled conspiracy theorists, of which I am not, will be proved correct. Remember the testimony of the Undertaker in the UK at the very beginning of COVID? That comes in from Mary. But Mary, that was disproved at that time. I'll get that story dug out for you. He ended up actually in hospital with COVID as well, that same person. He then went off the radar thereafter. I don't know what he's doing now. Listen, I mean, there's no... if you take a position that's at odds with the mainstream view on everything, you know, be it 5G, be it COVID, be it the climate, be it chemtrails, be it... And I'm not grouping all of those in together, but I mean, say, for instance, you take an opposing view on everything, except the Earth being flat. I don't think you're ever going to win that one. But anyway, eventually, obviously, along the line, you are going to be proven right. That's just the way it works. So there are conspiracy theorists, as you call them, or as they can be called, that eventually, of course, on certain issues, they're going to be proven correct. Because if you take a position that seems to be generally one follows the other from time to time, you're going to be right. Even a broken clock is right twice a day, isn't that what they say? The Irish Railway Network, as it looked over one... And by the way, conspiracy theorists... I'm not saying someone who believes all governments are corrupt or that that wars are created because for profits and stuff. That's not. I wouldn't call that conspiracy theory. I'd be more on about the more stuff that's scientifically disputed, if you get where I'm coming from. For those of you watching, I'm holding up an image here. That's the way the railways used to be in Donegal. Look at that. Meandering right throughout the county up into Inishowen, out to Burton Port, out to Kittybegs. Is that Ardra? It's in the direction of just the network of rail. This was 1920. Everywhere is covered by rail, and then we switch to an image of. Then we switch to the image of now. 100 years later, we're supposed to be progressing so well, aren't we? And there's nothing, absolutely nothing in the northwest, and some shock. And the argument I believed at the time was that railways, and this is why we need real high-level. This is why we need to scrutinise everything as the people. That's what we hope we do on this show and other shows like this. The argument was said to me at one time that the reason they got rid of the trains, one of the reasons is that lorries were the future of transport, that they were more efficient, that they were a better way of doing things. And now here we are. The main principal argument for returning railways to some areas is for freight. So we've done a full 180. 360 would leave us back where we were. Yeah, we've done a 180. But anyway, be that as it may, we were far better off, far better served in terms of rail 100 years ago than we are now. We'll never get back to where we were then. But as I say, that's why it's so important that all decisions are scrutinised, because at the time, there would have been shows like this, I'm sure, newspaper articles arguing as to why we don't need the railway anymore. And look, now we're begging to get it returned.
Tá an scéim faoi sa bhí le seomra ligean Cias ar oscailt anois. Agus déad fós suas le €40,000 sa bhliain a hiilimh séir ó cháin trí seomra de cheach a ligean Cias leach léin. Tá an scéim se oscailta de gach duine, agus ní bheith tionchar eici ard íscíochtaí lesa chóisilig má aon tú iad. Tuile ólis ag gov.ie/contosig room for a student. Tianscanmh de chuid réaltas na hÉireann.
Your specialty is quality tiles, bathroom suites and wooden floors. Who has the best range of tiles in Donegal?
Crawford Tiles.
The best wood flooring?
Crawford Tiles.
The best bathroom suites?
Crawford Tiles.
5-day bathroom refits?
Crawford Tiles.
And who's been tampering with my questions?
That'd be me.
Crawford Tiles, Castlefin. That'd be them. 07491 43942.
An apple a day keeps the doctor away.
Yes, but a Joy apple keeps the sadness away. Crunchy, juicy with a hint of acidity. Get some Joya in your favourite store. Eat Joya, taste the joy. And with the Joya contest, you can win an electric car.
Okay, so we're all really excited about the World Cup kicking off very shortly. Of course, Ireland are going to be there thanks to a Donegal woman, and there is a strong Donegal interest. It's a nationwide thing. And, of course, there has to be a song, doesn't there? Maria Walsh of Zrazi has a role in producing Come On Ireland, giving us the right to dream. Maria Walsh, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, good morning. Hello, Donegal.
We have to have a song for such a monumental event, momentous event, don't we?
Absolutely. I mean, we were the original writers of Paul McGrath back in 1990. So I said to Carol, listen, we should do something for the women. And she was madly busy. So it sort of, disappeared out of the brain. And then I read this fantastic interview with Louise Quinn, and it just completely motivated me to get pen to paper, and the lyrics just flew out.
And what is the key? And we're going to hear it when we finish the interview, Maria. What's the key then to a really good song? It has to stick in. It has to be an earworm. You have to want to sing along. You almost have to know it on your first hearing. Is that really what you're trying to achieve?
Yes, I really felt yes, it has to be an earworm. You're totally right. I wanted an instant hook, a chorus that everybody could sing along with, and that really would transfer itself then easily onto the terraces, like the way Ooh Ah did. But so the most obvious line to me was, it's what I say myself naturally, is "Come on, Ireland," That's what you roar at the telly,
With a clenched fist, it's the passion.
Yeah, the clenched
cry.
fist.
Yeah.
That's the first thing that came out of my mouth. So that was straight away was the chorus line.
And I think it is significant too for the team and the squad more generally to have the fans at home with a common cry, so to speak, and who's to say maybe it might even make it to the stands of that packed out opener against Australia.
Well, that's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping, because there's a big Irish contingent in Australia, and there's a friend of mine living in Sydney who's she said she's going to bring it along on her portable speaker and blast it out and about, and she's going to the match. Lucky her.
Yeah, you got Michael D. Higgins, the president, involved in this. As I say, we'll hear it shortly. But talk to us about his involvement and who else features on the track.
Yeah. So it was fantastic that President Michael D. agreed to joining in, because he loves football, and he's the chairman of the Galway football team, or the soccer team. Totally interested as a good feminist that he is. And of course, he used to write for a Hot Press magazine as well. So he had all the credentials. And then the other contributor is Siobhan Ahern. She represents the Irish diaspora in Scotland. And her sister, she's a fantastic vlogger herself. She does these great vlogs. And I just came across her on the internet, and I loved what she did. So her sister happens to be Ruesha Littlejohn, her twin sister, actually. And she's, of course, Ruesha is brilliant on the team. So that was the connection there. And she gives a fantastic contribution in the middle of the song.
Brilliant. Okay, we're going to hear it. It's available for sale on iTunes. You can stream it on Spotify, Apple Music, Bandcamp, and all other relevant online platforms. So it's ready to go. People can listen to it now over the next few days as the excitement builds. As I say, of course, don't want to be too parochial, but we have a real strong Donegal interest in it as well. Maria, it's been lovely having you on the show. And as I say, we're going to listen to the track now, and hopefully it's relevant past the group stages through the final. Who's to say we couldn't win it? You have to dream, don't you?
You do.
Okay.
Let it rip.
Exactly. All right, take care of yourself. Thank you very much indeed. Here it is. Come on, Ireland.
I feel so great. So great. Come on, Ireland, come on, Ireland, come on, Ireland, you're our team. Come on, Ireland, our green tigers, giving us the right to dream. We've been waiting such a long time, waiting on our girls to grow into the women we see here. Our daughters going toe to toe.
smiles from Katie Taylor ticking on the world. Against the odds, against the tide. All our daughters making us proud. Sonia Sullivan, Kelly H, Rashida and Adeleke taking the stage. Rowers, riders, runners, swimmers, Leona the golfer, rugby and cricket. There's no stopping, the girls are the ticket. There's no stopping, the girls are the ticket. Come on, Ireland, come on, Ireland, come on, Ireland, you're our team. Come on, Ireland, our green tigers giving us the right to dream. Come on, Ireland, come on, Ireland, come on, Ireland, you're our team. Come on, Ireland, our green tigers giving us the right to dream. Hey, 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 giving us the right to dream. Hey,
we are all part of a rich and vibrant global community that is bound together by a shared love of life, our national heritage, language and culture.
I feel so proud as a member of the Irish diaspora to see the sportswomen of Ireland taking on the world. Come on, Ireland!
Come on, Ireland, come on, Ireland, come on, Ireland, you're our team. Come on, Ireland, our green tigers giving us the right to dream. Come on, Ireland, come on, Ireland, come on, Ireland, you're our team. Come on, Ireland, our green tigers giving us the right to dream. Come on, Ireland, come on, Ireland, come on, Ireland, you're our team. Come on, Ireland, our green tigers giving us the right to dream. Come on, Ireland, come on, Ireland, come on, Ireland, you're our team. Come on, Ireland, our green tigers giving us the right to dream.
All right, and so it plays out there. Come on, Ireland. My first hearing of that as well. So there you have it. What do you think? 086 60 25,000. Probably a bit of a grower. Mark is watching with us on social media and asks, who made the decision to drop the trains? What genius signed off on that decision? Indeed, Duncan is a member of the WURI, that's the lobbying group for railways. Thanks, Greg, for allowing us the time on your show. It's our pleasure here. More modern methods of building of the rail, which may be more... better methods in allowing the rail be situated within areas that wouldn't have been possibly might be more effective, they say. And other people just wishing us good well, saying good morning. Thank you very much indeed. And some of you do so regularly, and it's appreciated. John's always in, Michael, Audrey, and Bernie and Beth, some regular watchers of the show. Can you put a birthday request on, please, for my sister Louise Devine? I hope you have a lovely day. Happy birthday, Louise. Hope you have a lovely day. Don't forget, if you want birthday requests or messages sent out to people, get in touch. We're more than happy to do that, you know. I'm not cutting my grass because I can't find anyone to cut it. Enjoying the show as per usual, Greg. Regards, Eileen in Gweedore. Eileen, is that sort of you subtly saying, is there anyone around Gweedore cuts lawns? There's lots of, particularly young people, I think, in the summer, go out and about doing that. Eileen, if you want me to put it out there, you're looking for someone in the Gweedore area? Eileen, if I was your next door neighbour, and I'm not just saying this, I would cut your grass for you. But I'm not. So we're going to see if there's anyone out there might do it for you. I'm sure you don't mind paying either. Hi, due to ongoing works on the Milford-Remelton Road, a lot of people are using the back road behind the Lag petrol station. As it is a back road, there are places to pull in to allow cars to pass. However, there are people using the road driving too fast and trying to pass at places which are extremely narrow. It's an accident waiting to happen. My word, please be careful. Those roads aren't designed for that type of traffic. Thankfully, no issues with accepting cash at the weekend's ladies' match with a long queue at the cash turnstiles. Our under-strength team, missing Tanya and Geraldine, battling bravely against a physically stronger and pacey Dublin team. Final scoreline a bit harsh with 2 late goals as heads dropped and players grew tired defending for so long. Good to see the main stand so full yesterday. Well, that was Sunday, but I got that yesterday. Wanted to read that out. Yes, it's a different organisation, isn't it? accepting cash. Good morning, Greg. I was travelling to the Blessing of the Graves yesterday morning and I was listening to the Reverend Jim Lamont. Such a powerful man. He's so great. Listening to his stories yesterday, they were brilliant, and I'm sure it touched nearly everyone that was listening. He said about holding on to hurt and what it does to our minds. He said about a man that he spoke to in his 90s holding a hurt his father had said to him when he was in his 20s. He said, get rid of all our hurt and let God into our lives. By the way, I am a practicing Catholic, but Reverend Lamont spoke very strongly to me. Strong words indeed. Okay. Where are all the Irish flags to support the ladies in the World Cup? If it was the men's team playing, there'd be plenty. Come on, people, show some support. Would there be plenty? Do we do that anymore? Because even our own... I mean, you see, you know, signs up for a local GAA team doing well, but, I mean, unless we get past Ulster in the old format of the championship, do you see Donegal flags up anymore for the GAA? Should we see more Irish flags up supporting the women's team in Australia? I think we should. Are shops obliged to take 1 or 2 cent coins? Is it still legal tender? Thank you. Good question. Don't know the answer to that because there's that whole rounding up thing. It is legal tender. Of course it's legal tender. I'll take 1 million of your 1 cent coins if you have them. I'm not sure as it relates to shops handling them. Leave that with me. We'll check it out. It's an interesting little curiosity, that question. Hello, Greg. Could you please congratulate Burton Port Community Centre, which is celebrating 30th anniversary this Thursday. They're having a day of celebration on that day. We're lucky to have this lovely centre and staff here. Best wishes for Mary Ferry. More than happy to say. Brilliant achievement. 30 years of the Burton Port Community Centre.
At Heron Auto Opel, we're a full type of people, which is how we come up with the Opel 50/50 finance offer. Choose from the Opel Crossland, Corsa or Mokka. Select your flexible payment option, pair it with 3 years free servicing and meet your new other half. Discover more about Opel's 50/50 offer at the Opel Open Road event. See heronopel.ie for details. Finance is provided by way of a consumer hire purchase agreement by Bank of Ireland Finance. Lending criteria and conditions apply over 18s only. Ownership remains with Bank of Ireland until the final payment is made. Bank of Ireland trading as of Bank of Ireland Finance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Kelly's Diner in Letterkenny proudly introduced its newest member of the team, a family-friendly robotic waiter. It's the only one of its kind in the Northwest, there to help staff serve customers. And with a packed menu to pick from all week, from early to late, there's loads to do. If you'd like to see this robotic waiter in action, just pop into Kelly's award-winning diner today at Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Summer reductions on your favourite brands at Brian McCormick Sports, Brooks and Asics with 20% off. Check in-store and online. Brooks Glycerine and Adrenaline 22 GTS save 20%. Asics Keanu 29, Asics GT 2011 save 20%. Get ready for the summer and save 20% off your favourite kids' Asics trainers. Look the part, play the part. In-store and online. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
Entries are now being taken for the Clonmany Agricultural Show. Competitions in sheep, cattle, pony and horse, poultry, home industry, sheep shearing and show jumping. Entries close the 22nd of July. You can enter online at clonmanyshow.com or by entry form to the secretary. Email clonmanyagrishow@gmail.com. The 2-day Clonmany Agricultural Show, the 8th and 9th of August. Packed full of events for all the family.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
Okay, it is 11 o'clock, so it's time to get a news update. And we say good morning now to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. A High Court in India has ordered that the trial of the man accused of the murder of Donegal woman Danielle McLaughlin be expedited. The 28-year-old was killed in Goa on March the 14th, 2017. The orders to expedite the trial were issued by the High Court while rejecting the bail plea filed by Fagat Bagat, who has been charged with Miss McLaughlin's murder. Gardaí have issued a renewed appeal for witnesses to a fatal crash at Tubin Burnfoot on Friday afternoon last. Michael Jim Quinn, who was living in Letterkenny but originally from Buncrana, died in hospital after the car he was driving struck a ditch at around 4:30 p.m. He was aged in his 60s. Gardaí, meanwhile, are providing assistance to police who are concerned for the whereabouts of a missing Derry man. 61-year-old Patrick Hargan was last seen in Buncrana on Sunday evening. He's described as being 5'6" in height with grey hair and was wearing blue jeans and a check shirt when he went missing. The government will continue to work to establish a living wage, according to the Taoiseach. Leo Varadkar was responding to reports the Low Pay Commission is to recommend an increase of more than 12% in the minimum wage. Investigations are ongoing after a motorist was injured by a stone falling off a trailer in Moville. Between 7:45am and 8:40am on Thursday morning last, the driver was travelling on the Carndonnet to Moville Road in the Leckamy area. The stone fell off a lorry trailer, smashing the windscreen of the car before striking the driver. Gardaí, meanwhile, are appealing for information after a man was attacked by 3 other men in Carndonnet. The alleged assault took place between 10:30pm and 11:30pm on Friday, July the 7th. He was taken to Letterkenny University Hospital for treatment to his injuries, which are not believed to be life-threatening. And the All-Ireland Rail Review, set to be published later this month, proposes Donegal, Cavan and Monaghan be connected to the National Rail Network for the first time in decades. Transport Minister Eamon Ryan last week, in confirming that he will be bringing a memo to Cabinet in the coming weeks, said moves are already being made in anticipation of a re-established Atlantic Railway corridor. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
Are you looking forward to getting the train from Strabane to Letterkenny to work?
Very exciting.
Yeah, it would be very exciting.
Hopefully it'll be faster than the Derry to Belfast.
But it's great. It's hugely popular, Derry to Belfast.
And it's such a lovely route, but it takes about 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
Exactly.
It's very long.
Indeed. Well,
but it's lovely.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll get you to work a bit earlier than that. All right, thanks very much, Michaela. We'll be back with more on the show after a short break here.
Hi, I'm Mary.
I'm Daniel.
Siobhan. Guess where I like to shop? Bet it's Aldi. I just like how much I can get for my money.
You can feed the family for great value at Aldi.
And I like the specially selected range.
Like Ireland's first ever Diamond Taste Award winner, specially selected dry-aged Black Angus ribeye steak.
It's quality.
So if you like great value and award-winning Irish steaks, it's got to be Aldi, Ireland's most reputable supermarket.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. We'll get to some of your comments as we do throughout the course of the morning, of course. Dogs are barking non-stop. Oh, I read that one. Yeah, that was someone struggling with dogs barking. I'll read it again. Dogs are barking non-stop in the Ballyrain-Goatley area. It's very annoying. I keep my windows closed and still hear them. Can you please plead again with dog owners to attend to the dogs? Otherwise, we'll have no alternative to but report it to the dog warden. Nothing worse than constant barking. Right. David Farrell joins us on the show now. David, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Right, okay, so you were off on your hollybobs. Hopefully you had a wonderful time. But then, of course, it comes a time where we have to face the reality of going home. It can be good fun, but also going back to the weather, maybe sometimes a bit of a nightmare. But your nightmare was a little bit different because you have been levelled with a significant bill. Tell us what happened.
Yeah, we got our bill from 3 Ireland about 5 or 6 days ago, and it was over €100 more than the normal bill for a month. So I queried it, and they said it was because we'd been in Albania. But in fact, we were in Corfu. We were in Corfu for the full 2 weeks of our lovely holiday. We never stepped off the beach. We never went anywhere near Albania. So I queried it, and they basically rejected any proposal to waive the fee, and they said it was my fault, that we should have recognised that we were linked up to Albania because our thing was set automatically. Basically, I've learned an important lesson as a bit of a dinosaur, which is there are certain things about mobile phones I didn't understand that I now understand a bit more of. But it's a shame that I would have been stuck with this bill in the light of my inability to understand modern technology.
Yeah, but that being said, we have to be helped along the way in our understanding of it. Sometimes things are purposely complicated, but it never works in our favour. You know what I mean? Your own, as by your own admittance, lack of understanding of this technology. You didn't come home with €150 credit in your It's always. When we need to understand things more, it's always at the advantage of those that perhaps should inform us better.
Well, that's right. I mean, particularly as I went through all the stages with the person at the end of the telephone in which they said, you were in Albania. I said, no, we weren't in Albania. You were on the high seas. No, we weren't on the high seas. We might have taken a water taxi to a nearby restaurant, but that was as far as we went, never more than 50 meters from the coast. And then it culminated in them saying, well, sorry, the Albanian mast was more powerful than the Greek mast, and therefore it's your fault. But my point back to them was, I never left the European Union. My wife and I were always at all stages in Greece, on the island of Corfu. We physically were never in Albania. And so I've since learned, because I've seen the Twitter feed since I posted something yesterday, that this is a regular occurrence when you're on the borders of the European Union. And it just seems to me wrong that even if I said to them, I can send you my credit card receipts, I can prove categorically that I never left the European Union. Yeah. They simply said, no, unfortunately, that's the way it is.
And maybe the irony is that if it came down to a criminal investigation, it is they themselves, with their information in terms of geolocation, would be able to confirm also that you never left the European Union.
Well, presumably, yeah. I mean, they have the technology; they can see where I am.
You'd be triangulated to where you say you were. I got stuck with the high seas one as well. I think it was on a boat in Malta. That came out of a bolt out of the blue. So, I mean, there's a PR issue here as well. I think it'd be very much in their interest to say, but they could open the floodgates as well. So, I mean, you've switched to Vodafone. Have they said anything since? I know Conor Pope's a consumer advocate. Any word of them relenting at all?
Well, actually, yes. In the last 5 minutes, just before I came on air, I was contacted about an hour ago by 3 Ireland Care, another Twitter feed, asking me for the details. I sent the details and they came back and they said that they'd pay half the difference. So it's a nice parting gift, as we've just moved, as you said, we've just moved to Vodafone. But it's nice of them to at least give me that gesture.
But I think really, David, this may have started off as you sort of advocating on behalf of yourself. I think what it's actually turned into is a really, albeit costly to you, useful opportunity for people to make sure that if you're travelling abroad, ensure that that, because we get a ton of texts as well, and we don't know what they're for necessarily, but just to make sure that you haven't strayed onto. I can't imagine there's many examples like yours, but there's a lot of people go to Corfu, so just make sure you stay in the local network as best as you can.
This is it. This is what the more tech-savvy people on Twitter have been telling me, that I should not have it on. I mean, the default is always automatic, that I should change that to manual, and then as soon as I arrive, put it on. Because that's the thing. We were caught out within 24 hours. We got a warning saying we'd reached our limits, so we immediately went off data roaming. But in that 24-hour period, that's when the damage was done. So it happens really quickly. Yeah. So the lesson I've learned is go manual.
Of course, and it happens really. If you have certain settings like backing up photos or automatic downloads of series and Netflix, and you don't have that on Wi-Fi only, you could be. Yeah, I mean, you took a hit, but it could have been an awful lot worse as well, depending on how your phone's generally set up, David.
Absolutely. So it was kind of lucky in the end. It wasn't as bad as it might have been.
So now you have to put on social media for a couple of days. Don't have my phone for 3 or 4 days. If you need to get me on here. I don't know why people do that, but they do anyway. All right, listen, take care of yourself. Thanks for that. Glad to see that there was some compromise. They met you halfway, but as you say, unfortunately, at this point, it's a parting gift.
Exactly. But yeah, exactly. But thank you. And anyway, lesson learned.
And you've learned the lesson for at least 1 or 2 people listening, I hope. Thank you, David Farrell there. He was out in Corfu, but his phone was connected to the Albania network and took a big hit. 150 quid was his welcoming home present. But in fairness to 3, because it is his fault, right? Because you get the text saying, welcome to Albania. We know that along the border because we're constantly, you drive into Strabane and it's like, welcome to the UK. So it's there. Okay, we're going to take a quick break and then we're going to be joined by Minister for Disabilities, Department of Children Equality, Disability Integration and Youth, Minister Anne Rabbitte, in just a couple of moments.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Don't miss the ultimate Lidl Saturday summer clearance sale. Comfy hanging garden share and 3-burner gas barbecue were $249.99, now $179.99 each. Stay warm with an outdoor gas fire pit was $279.99, now $199.99. While stocks last. Go on, shop without compromise. Go full Lidl today.
Did you know that new tertiary degree programmes are now available through Donegal ETB in conjunction with Atlantic Technological University? These unique degree programmes allow students to remain in their local region while studying for a degree. If you're interested in getting a degree in business, lab science, sustainable engineering technologies or general nursing, apply today. CAO points aren't required for this opportunity to explore university education in a flexible learning environment. For more information on how to apply, visit atu.ie/tertiary degrees.
Eating out later? Sister Sarah's mouth-watering menu is packed with tempting dishes and all-time favourites. Whether it's a special occasion or a private function, their party options and buffet choices have got you covered. Book now on 91222238. Sister Sarah's, serving food you love until 9 p.m. every day.
McCullough Jewellers in Letterkenny are synonymous with fine jewellery, quality watches and giftware. With stores at Main Street, Letterkenny and the Letterkenny Shopping Centre or online at ormccullough.com. You can choose from their quality product range in a relaxed atmosphere, and their sales staff will be happy to help you make the right choice whatever the occasion. McCullough Jewellers, making moments magical for generations.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
The time now is 12 minutes past 11, and as I mentioned, we're joined in studio now by Minister Anne Rabbitte, who's Minister for Disabilities, Department of Children Equality, Disability Integration and Youth. It's a broad... you are very welcome to the show and to the county. It's a broad remit, Minister, and obviously you have a big team across it all.
Yeah, it is, and I suppose my main focus within that long title is the disability, but not just the disability, the inclusion and equality piece of it, because I do believe disabilities, all people with disabilities have rights. So I think moving us from the Department of Equality or Health over to the Department of Equality, I think that was a really positive move for people with disabilities, because we were really probably the Cinderella in the Department of Health, because we also became the piggy bank. They kept rating us for doing everything else when they ran short of money. So hence disabilities was always left on the back foot. Moving it to the other department, it's the main player within that other department. We've the largest budget. Minister Gorman is the senior minister who looks after everything to do from youth to direct provision to the Ukrainian response. But disabilities sits solely with myself.
And we hope, don't we, in this country or in any modern country, to get to the point whereby we aren't constantly fighting for the equality that everybody's entitled to. And it does feel like that sometimes, that we're constantly, it's like whack-a-mole of issues.
And I'd say it feels like that a lot of the time. If we're to be very fair, it would be wrong of me to sit here in front of you this morning and sort of glaze over as if it's the perfect country to live in if you have a disability. It's not, actually. But we are trying our best. We're trying to respond as a government. And as I said, that first step is a real recognition that we don't see disabilities just as a health issue. We see it as a rights-based issue. That's a real dial change. Also recognising that disabilities is just not siloed anymore into just day services. There's a range of disabilities. The acquiring of a disability over the age of 18, you could have been in employment, you could have been in education, you could have been in any walk of life, and you can get struck with a disability. It's the understanding of the range of disability. And I suppose really that's what the High Court showed us a few years ago when the primary medical certs, that they said that the vision or the description of disabilities in this state is too narrow. So that, along with my government colleagues, we're trying to change the dial on.
Now, I could list a series of examples whereby there are inequalities, and listeners would be very familiar with these. I have no doubt people like you, Anne, and people in your position are very well intended in wanting to see change implemented, wanting to get rid of the inequalities. But it seems what you'll want and getting things changed on the ground, it seems an incredibly difficult process and an incredibly slow process. And I'm sure you share some of the same frustrations. So what do we do? How do we move forward whereby you can have well-intended people at the top that are really well-resourced in terms of, what money's being allocated to what, and actually people going, you know what, I can feel the benefits of what Minister Rabbitt's talking about. That sort of...
Yeah, and to be honest with you, there's a lot of well-intended people, but well-intended doesn't deliver services. So to me, it's about the delivering of services. So my primary focus, and I don't apologise about it, is actually having enough resources so as we can train and recruit enough therapists so as we can give that early intervention for children. Because if you get that early intervention, you possibly have a better pathway within education and transitioning into post-primary and into further education. And we also need to be very ambitious in relation to employment and the access to employment and resourcing employers with actually being able to recruit people with disabilities. Amazing thing during COVID was, and talking to a number of people, was when they were able to do an interview, they did it across the screen. So nobody knew whether you wheeled in, hopped in, or how you got in. Yeah. But actually they judged you on your ability to perform on that interview space, not on actually how you looked or anything else. So it just showed to me that there's an appetite there to actually work in that digital space. There's an appetite there to support employers. Employers do want to recruit people with disabilities, but sometimes it is actually, how do I do it? How can I be supported? And the same way, and that's why I'm looking forward to going down, opening the new hub here.
Which we'll talk about, of course.
But it's also giving people the opportunities of work experience, the opportunities of internship, and actually the progression on to more long-stay employment.
Yeah, and the thing about that is you speak to some groups. We have amazing groups in this part of the world, as you would know, but there's some fantastic employers that are really embracing that and seeing the benefits, and then there are others that don't. And then we've got some fantastic organisations that struggle to get work placements for the people that they work with and they've had in the past, and they can see how that benefits. As I say, we need to find out who's doing it right and use that as a model or some sort of a way to say, right, if it's working up there in Letterkenny, well, why is it not working like that down there in Ballymote?
Yeah, and look at it all comes down to leadership and the ability to apply. To be quite honest with you, leadership comes right from the top. So if that employer is able to bring the rest of his staff along with and his HR team or whatever, that ability to bring people with you. And also the leadership within the disabilities organisations, not to be afraid to advocate, to push forward and to make that connection. You are right, where good is good, we need to be signposting and we need to be able to refer people to go and have a look at so that they can have the confidence in. But we do need to improve the number of people with disabilities that are employed in the state.
Yeah, of course. Now, I mean, obviously, your responsibility with the Department of Children, I'm not sure it falls directly into that department, but we also had the very worrying but welcomed comments from the retired judge, whose name just escapes me at the moment, as it relates to our care of the state's care of troubled children. Now, it's unimaginable that young people, when we're charged with protecting them, whatever, that find themselves in the situations they do. But unfortunately, it's going to happen. What we don't expect to happen is that when these troubled children come into the care of the state, that their experiences are compounded negatively.
Absolutely, and I do welcome the commentary of the judge. I also welcome the commentary of the children's rapporteur yesterday evening, and I, in opposition, would have been very much critical of actually, and also critical of what is the responsibility of the state. The children we talk about are our most vulnerable, but they are our responsibility, and how they are looked after. And I no doubt it's a priority for Minister O'Gorman, not speaking for him, but I do know it is, that there has to be a complete review of actually how children are supported and cared for. We should be able, in the confidence, believe that when we place a child into care, that child gets maximum care, the opportunities of education, the opportunities to reconnect back with their family if that is the right thing for them. But there should never be the fear that any more wrong would come to that child.
Yeah, okay. As I say, again, just hopefully now we do look at that, and the one thing we should be able to get right is the care of our children, I think. I want to make sure we have time to talk about your visit to Dunlow, the community inclusion in Dunlow, the hub, because I also want to get a couple of words with you on the Brandon report. But I want to make sure you're up here to talk about the Dunlow thing. So talk to me about the community inclusion Donegal hub.
Yes, so I'm down here later, or after I leave here, I go across.
Very hard to keep track of where you are.
Yeah, I go across the road. Go across the road, and we're going to open the Donegal Inclusion Hub. Edel Quinn is there along with her team within the HSE. So what is it about? The Donegal Inclusion Hub is actually a person-centred New Directions hub, where actually the person at the centre chooses to work to their best of their ability, supported by the staff. They also, and we talked about it a minute ago, is in actually looking at what are their strengths, to work to the person's strengths, but also what ambitions have they in further education, or what ambitions have they in relation to employment, or where would
it's like, instead of trying to get in a whole group of individuals to fit into one's restrictive system, we have a system that adapts to each individual.
Yes, it's putting the person at the centre.
Yeah,
it's working with the person. It's listening to the voices of. And in actual fact, that is a change in the dial as well, as opposed to people going into a big room, sitting with all the chairs around in a circle, and whatever entertainment would be provided. We're now actually saying we're going right into the middle. Where is the hubs within the community? This is a lively spot down this end of Donegal that I'm in this morning, and that is very welcome, that people with disability are absolutely absorbed into, that can feel that positive energy and get to know their community as well, and feel confident that if they walk out their door, they will recognise a face that they'll know, because they'll just become part and parcel of it. And maybe from that then you will see that confidence grow within employers, because they get to know people that they will be able to give that placements for. So it's person-centred approach. These are really positive developments, and I believe strongly in it, that no longer are we going to have individuals with disabilities siloed away. There should be no more of that.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, and we'll speak more to the people behind it locally as well. Can you ask Minister Rabbit when the promised new motorised transport grant and mobility allowance and the promised replacement for PWDI will be activated? This comes up a lot on this programme, as you can imagine. It's a strange old convoluted situation.
Yes, so what I did was I chaired that working group for the last 12 months. The report is now done. I know exactly what funding is being spent across all the different departments with disability funding. So I have given over to the Department of Finance. To be very fair to Minister McGrath, he has already used and stretched the bandwidth within the department, in the fact that people who in the past couldn't get access to the motorised grant, we expanded it there. The Lee Gath case might have only been for 28, but actually it's a step in the right direction. It's a really positive move.
It seems like it's almost designed to frustrate.
Yeah, but look, I'm very, very focused on the mobility allowance. I think that removal of the mobility allowance back a number of years ago, I would be in favour of its reinstatement.
Yeah, okay. A person believes that grouping intellectual and physical disabilities together is wrong.
Physical and intellectual, they're entitled to their opinion.
Exactly, I think
So, but look, we all talk about integration. So, and we should have more people, and it shouldn't be all just disabilities. We should all be integrating equally.
To integrate people with a disability more broadly, but then to segregate within, it would seem
wrong.
Yeah, okay. Right. There is concern, as you know, that there are foot dragging or delays in relation to the government dealing with the findings of the Brandon report. This is horrendous.
Yeah, absolutely. And I won't, whoever says that, or if it's your own opinion, I agree with it.
It's a newspaper article.
Yeah. So, but that I don't disagree with that whatsoever. So I had always said that it would, if I could get into the other department, because I found it impossible to achieve what I want to achieve within health, that within 3 months I would hope to have a new grouping established. I'm now in the department within the 3 months, and we are now at our final stages of putting in place that reassurance look back piece that I want to give to the families. I also want to give to the workers here, but I also need to be confident as the minister that what has happened wouldn't happen again. So I am putting in place, as I say, the final document is being just put together for an independent piece. I want to welcome what Bernard Gloucester did like 2 Sundays ago, where he himself has said he's putting in place his own independent piece. That was the wider piece in relation to nursing homes, but he did say, and he could possibly look at the Brandon piece. Absolutely. But I made a commitment to the people of Donegal that I would do my own reassurance piece of work. I'm still committed to doing that piece of work. And I do welcome Bernard's indications that he's looking at that wider reassurance. I genuinely think with the amount of regulations, you would think it is all perfect. So families need to be reassured as what happened.
Well, that's what I was going to say. And you're very busy, so I'll let you away in 2 minutes, or you'll just get up and walk out if I don't. But Minister, you say for instance, with the not wishing to conflate, but the recent RTE scandal, who's accountable? No one's accountable. People can leave. People don't get called to account. We're not talking about a prison sentence here, but accountability. But we've been so reassured that things are going to change in RTE. Cultural changes, massive month, and then we've got something like this as it relates to really important services in Donegal and more widely. There is again that sense that no one is responsible. Whoever may be responsible maybe has moved on, and still people don't feel reassured that this can't happen again, or that this isn't happening again. So that's where the conflation comes from, that we get this brilliant reassurance over €345,000 on something that affects people so real like this. There is that not same level of comfort about how this isn't happening, this is how we're going to make sure it won't happen, and this is how we're going to change.
Absolutely. So you can't have all these reports and somebody independent to everybody that wrote the reports outside of the jurisdiction needs to come and sit down and look at where we are with the services today and where we've come from over the last 6 or 7 years, and has to be able categorically, and the report has to come to me, the minister. I don't want a report going to the HSE. I welcome what Bernard's doing, but the report will go to Bernard. I want a report coming to me. I need to be able to publish my own report as to what was the findings out of reading all those reports and where we are today. I want it to be that positive piece, but I won't absolutely sugarcoat it. I think the public have a right to know, and it needs to be shared with the people of Donegal. I also think that in actual fact, the sooner this happens, the better, because I need my confidence to know that learnings have been found.
Yeah, okay, Minister, thank you. Enjoy the journey over to Dunlow. It is beautiful if you haven't made it already, and I'm sure you'll get a wonderful welcome there. Thanks for your time today. Really do appreciate it. That is Minister Anne Rabbitte. Back with more shortly.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
For the biggest names in perfume and aftershaves, visit McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. Dolce & Gabbana, Paco Rabanne, Carolina Herrera, Calvin Klein, Jimmy Choo and Burberry, Ariana Grande, Jean-Paul Gaultier, Vera Wang and many more. From timeless classics to celebrity favourites, there's a perfume or aftershave for everyone at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny and online at mcgees.ie.
Come along to the Glencolmkill Agricultural Show on Sunday the 6th of August, featuring cattle, sheep, horses, poultry and all marquee classes. A great family day with children's fun and live music. Entries open on glencolmkillagriculturalshow.ie or visit our Facebook page.
With 232 underway, it's not too late to secure your new Kia. With the Kia Ceed petrol and diesel, the Sportage in hybrid, plug-in hybrid and diesel, and the award-winning car of the year, the EV6 all-electric. All available for immediate delivery. Call into iMotors in Letterkenny or Malin to find out more. Open 6 days a week.
This summer, visit Belfast. Discover a jam-packed calendar of events and experiences for an adventure as unique as this city. Enjoy concerts, culture and lively debates at Féile and Fubble, Ireland's biggest community arts festival. Make room for a food tour in the iconic Cathedral Quarter, or why not take in a Turner Prize winner at the Ulster Museum? In Belfast, there's always something new, and it's all up to you. So what are you waiting for? Plan your getaway today at visitbelfast.com.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme. And we're joined on it now by Maxi Curran, who has confirmed yesterday that he's stepping away from his role as Donegal Senior Ladies Manager. And in a statement, the Donegal LGFA County Board said it regretted the decision, but thanked Maxi for his time, commitment and dedication to the Donegal Ladies footballers over the past 6 years. And of course, wished him luck in future. Maxi, good morning to you. When did you make the decision?
Morning, Greg. Yeah, look, I think as the year went on, and the struggles we were having early on and the ups and downs, I think probably along the way you probably realised that this was maybe the end of the road for myself and maybe a few of the girls. 6 years as a right while and one job for the group of girls. We listened to the one voice, so it probably during the year it became apparent that it was getting near the end of the line. But look, we just probably, when we got out of the arena on Sunday, we probably realised that that was the time to go, and so it was, I think, an easy enough decision in the end.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a tough and easy decision at the same time, because it's a huge commitment over 6 years, but also you talk about maybe players who are moving away from the game themselves, but you've also had a great opportunity to see the new flock that are coming through, and part of you may be excited about bringing them on or seeing what they could achieve, but I suppose you just had to make the decision for yourself too.
Yeah, look, I think the future is good for Donegal. We were put into a situation this year where we had to blood some very young girls very quick and very early and throw them in at the deep end. And look, I think that's been probably the most pleasing thing of all for the whole year, was the way the younger girls have stepped up. And a lot has been made about our older girls, and some came back and some didn't, and the contribution they made. But look, I think for me the big change in our season and the big transformation came from the young girls, who as I say, grew up very fast. We have a number of younger girls in that squad that played over the last 5 or 6 games. 3 or 4 games in the championship, and they were just brilliant. Your Abigail, Temple of Soka, there's a lot been said about Abigail, and Claire Freeler, goalkeeper, came in for the first time, never played for Donegal before at any age grade. Katie Dowd, she's only 16 years of age. And then Tara Hegarty, Amy Boyle Carr, Roisin Rogers, Katie Long, Susie White. The emergence of those guys to become real standout performers for the team at their tender ages, was very pleasing. And yeah, look, we have a minor team in an All-Ireland semi-final on Wednesday night as well, and there's a number of those that I'm sure are ready to step up. So yeah, from that perspective, look, it's exciting, all right. But look, I think just the thing maybe needed a wee change, a wee freshening up, and a change of direction and a new voice. And it's not that in any way you're lacking motivation to go or losing interest in the job or the girls. I just felt that maybe the time was right for them to have a new direction.
Yeah, and Maxi, did they probably had an understanding of where you were at, but were there any efforts made to say, one more year?
Well, I think it's been kind of one more year for the last 3 or 4 years, but look, I think to give the older girls their credit, they've been kind of hanging on for the last year or two. There's a number of them heading for their mid-30s, and some of these people are married women that have postponed having families and starting families and having kids, for just to give their all to Donegal. And people have been putting their bodies at huge risk for serious complications down the line. The contribution of the likes of Karen Guthrie and Niamh Hegarty from an injury perspective, about the risks that they have put their body to play for Donegal this year, especially, it's unbelievable, really. And it's only in time people have realised what Karen has done, and the risks that she endures every day she goes out with her injury history, and for them to keep going was it's a humbling experience for me. And look, there wasn't really a discussion at any stage, but about who would go or when we go, but look, I think it's the story's not about me, Greg, to be honest. I think it's about, this Donegal group over the last 6 years. When I came in at 2017, we tried to change a lot of things, and we tried to, improve the thing for the better. I had been fortunate to be involved with Donegal men prior to that, so I had a good experience of seeing how a proper setup should work, and I tried to implement as much of that as we could. And we put huge pressure on the girls. We made a massive ask of them in terms of their commitment and buy-in, and I think we've got a lot right over the last 6 years, and we've been fortunate to come at a time when ladies football has been a massive transformation and an upsurge in popularity, and we're very fortunate to be part of that. And this Donegal group have really taken ladies football in Donegal to a whole new level, and I think that was evidenced in the crowd that turned up on Sunday in Ballybofey. We were completely humbled when we came out to see the crowd in the stand. The game delayed by a few minutes to get all the crowd in, and that's it's a brilliant indictment for the girls and how they have captured the imagination of the Donegal people. And I think it's important maybe we didn't have a better show or take the game closer to the wire, but that's just the way it went on Sunday. But again, I think it's a testament to what those girls have achieved in terms of their standing in Donegal. And
do you know what's amazing, Maxie, too? It's the young girls, and I know them, and it's not just girls; it'll be boys too, but primarily girls that are out talking out now for their local team, that have ambitions of one day playing seniors for their local team, or even lining out for Donegal. I mean, the girls get that, don't they? The positive impact they've had on thousands of young people, particularly young girls. In you can be what you can see, and that's what they have done and continue and will continue to do. But it's remarkable as an individual like myself to actually see it happening before my eyes. Young girls, as I say, inspired to try and be like their heroes.
Yeah, and look, we're actually here in Convoy this morning. The Donegal senior ladies have taken on to run, a couple of summer camps over the next couple of weeks, and the kids have signed up on their hundreds. As they here in Convoy this morning with Niamh McLaughlin, Karen Guthrie, Katie Hare, Nini Boyle Carr, Niamh Carr, Shannon McGruddy. Over in Donegal town, you have Niamh Boyle and Emer Galler and Susie White and Roisin Rogers, and these kind of people, and all the girls in the squad will be here at some point in the week. And that's another testament to how important they feel it is to reach out to the next generation, as you say, and and how available they have made themselves to the next generation at every turn of that whatever's been asked of them. They've tried to do it. And look, we are very aware that they are the role models for the next generation, and and the kids have signed up in their hundreds for the different camps across the county to come and meet the girls and just be coached by them. And look, it's a lovely experience, a lovely sight here this morning in Convoy, and I know it's the same over in the other camps as well. So yeah, look, it's as you say, look, the younger girls are really taking on what the older girls have done, and seeing what they've done, and the participation numbers in ladies football is massive. And there's a lot been made, protests nationwide about the treatment of lady footballers and one thing and another. And I think one side of that that's not been acknowledged, and that's the role of society and the acknowledgement of the great efforts that the female cohort is making in sport, and the great strides. And as I say, it was unbelievable to see the Donegal crowd that came on Sunday to support them. But we do need people to get behind the girls on a more regular basis, whether that be at club level or county level. And it's not just in Gaelic football either. The quality of entertainment provided by lady footballers in the GA sphere at this point is the one I'm most familiar with. Is second to none, and people that have come to watch in recent times have seen that. And look, people need to get behind them. It's not talk is cheap now. Stop talking about that they should have this and they should have that, until people actually get out and support them and come in their numbers and more money becomes available. Then the girls can get treated at this exact same level as the boys. Now, look, we're very fortunate that our county board has been brilliant throughout my time, and and the business fraternity in Donegal have been absolutely phenomenal. Donna Kelly, Donald Barrett in MCR, Eddie Tobin, Austin Daly, McCafferty's Bar, Declan Boyle, and these people, they've just been absolutely brilliant, and our girls have wanted for nothing. And I know the protests going along nationwide, but it's actually nothing to do with the Donegal girls. They're just standing with their sisters throughout the country, and everybody's looking for the same thing. But our girls have been so well treated by the efforts of the county board and the business fraternity, who have really, really supported us, and the girls are really indebted to that, and really appreciative of all the help that's been given by the different entities. So yeah, look, as I say, a rising tide, raises all boats, and I think that's the way it is in Donegal at the minute. But everybody's got to keep the momentum going now, and as I say, get out and support the girls whenever you can, and not just give, I suppose, patronising pats in the back and say they're great and they're doing brilliant, because that's the one thing that's going to change everything in ladies sport, is people actually getting behind them and coming out and supporting them and watching them in that regard.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Maxie, here we go. You mentioned, of course, your involvement with the men's previously, and you've done 6 years with the ladies. Your CV's only, grown and grown since, the highs and the lows, being able to adapt mid-season, talk players back in to rejoining the squad and delivering results along those lines. Are you interested, or could you be persuaded to be interested in the management of the men's teams now? Is this right for you in your managerial career? Is it something that would interest and excite you, Maxie?
Well, at this point in time, it's not something I would have any interest in. Look, down the line, it's the pinnacle for any manager or coach, to be involved with their county team. And look, as they have been blessed to have been involved with every Donegal team from under 14 to senior at some point or other. But look, just not at this time. I think the Donegal men situation's at a crucial turning point, and I think they need a real high profile figure now to come in and redirect and capture the imagination of the people and the players. And I mentioned the need for everybody to get behind the girls, same as the case now with the boys. But look, I just don't feel I'm the person for that role at the minute. And
could you be convinced you are? I think you're being quite modest there in terms of big names and what have you, Maxie. Could you be? Is it just not right for you in your life more generally at the moment, or could you be convinced, even as part of a team, to have a role in it? Your county might need you, Maxie.
Well, look, it's not me that needs Greg, to be honest. I think it's a great skill in this life to know where your limits are and know your range. And as I say, that's just, I don't think it's the job for me at this point. I don't think I'm the answer to that particular problem for Donegal. And look, I wish them well in their pursuits. And look, there are some great people around and some big names even within Donegal, and and high profile figures. And I just don't mean to throw out the term big names loosely. I think people need to be struck and taken by a name or a manager, and there has to be a certain amount
when
of
you talk about that, you talk about the big names, are you maybe, sorry Max, I won't keep you much longer, I know you're busy up in Convoy, you're not necessarily talking about the fans, are you talking about the dressing room, that they need a big name, someone that can command respect?
Yeah, look, there definitely is a bit of that, there is a bit of that, but I just think the GAA fraternity in Donegal, both male and female level, are they're crying out for a real strong leader to come now, and as I mentioned earlier about to raise all boats, and to raise the tide, and a bit of optimism. We're going to a club championship now, and we hope that there's a good bit of positivity. The Donegal boys have done tremendous over the last couple of years, and I don't think they've been given the credit that is there for their efforts. Like being a county footballer, as a manager, coach, whatever, it's a tough gig. It's a thankless job. A lot of times there's great highs, and a lot of the pleasure and enjoyment we get for it is not seen by other people. It's the journey and the day-to-day workings with people and getting to know people and watching kids grow and develop, and helping them in different aspects of their life. Not just their football career. I think a lot of the stuff we do is unseen in terms of the other things that we do for kids and their development, and that's the enjoyment side of it. But look, it's been a tough road for Donegal, and I think people are too quick to criticise based on results, and I know it's a results-driven business, but I think there are so many people there. There are donkeys out there sitting behind keyboards, writing all the time and criticising people for their efforts, and they haven't got a clue of what's going on and what how much effort is put in by people. And I think the public need to at times maybe take a step back and appreciate what people do and the efforts that they make, and give them time. Like, this is a young Donegal men's group at the minute, no more than the girls. And, they need time. They're not going to be winning the All Ireland this year or next, and they need time to grow, and people need to get behind that. And I think that's where the role of the next manager is so important. And I think if they could get somebody that captures the imagination of the Donegal people, coaches, clubs, businesses, supporters alike, the whole lot needs to get behind. Look, we've got a lot of negative publicity in recent times, over things at administration level as well. And look, you just want people to try and put it behind them now and put the best foot forward and get the right people in the right places. Look, there has to be changes at different levels, and new personnel need to come in, and and a real freshness is needed, I think, at this point. But look, hopefully they find that right person sooner rather than later, and when we all get a chance to move
and I think it's really important what you say, that the public, the fans, in inverted commas, have a real role to play in the future success of the Donegal team as well. It's not just about being there to jump on the bandwagon when the success is delivered. It's to be there as we build towards that success. Maxie, listen, thanks for your service, and thanks for your time today. And enjoy the spare time. Inevitably, I'm sure you'll find something to fill it. But in terms of, no doubts about that. But anyway, listen, thank you very much indeed. And we do appreciate your time, not just now in this interview, but over the last 6 years as well.
Lovely. Thank you very much
Bye-bye.
for your time, Greg, and support of the station. Thank you.
No problem.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Maxie Curran there.
Hope is something we give to each other. Thanks to your donations, Pieta's 24-hour crisis helpline is able to receive over 100,000 calls and texts a year. Your support means that all of Pieta's vital services are free and available nationwide, which means that free suicide prevention therapy, delivered by qualified therapists, is always just a phone call away. To make a life-saving gift today, go to pieta.ie. Pieta, ending suicide, beginning hope.
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town. Are you looking to upgrade your car? With Shane Conley Cars, you'll find makes and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out shaneconleycars.com or call in to us at Shane Conley Cars from Lonahur Road, Donegal Town.
Hey Matt, you're our favourite customer. And so are you, Niamh. Oh right, you're all our favourite. That's why new and existing Vodafone broadband customers get the same price. You can now pay just €40 a month and your bill won't double at the end of your contract. So everyone gets a fair price. Find out more at vodafone.ie/broadband. Vodafone, together we can. Subject to signing up to Vodafone Home 500 megabit fibre broadband, 12-month minimum contract. Price subject to annual price adjustment of CPI plus 3% each April. For terms, see vodafone.ie/terms.
Don't miss an incredible night of country music with Derek Ryan at the Highlands Hotel Glanties on Friday, July 28th. Tickets are €20 and available from ticketstop.ie or by phoning the Highlands Hotel reception. That's Derek Ryan at the Highlands Hotel Glanties, Friday, July 28th.
Okay, so we were chatting to former GP earlier on, and he was questioning why it's inexplicable that we have a disease like cancer, which people get a lot of support in terms of fighting it, yet a disease like Alzheimer's doesn't. People have to give up their homes effectively for care. It's not supported in the same way. And during that interview, it was mentioned of a new drug which is being held by some as a turning point in the fight against Alzheimer's. Dr. Laura O'Philbin is of the Alzheimer's Society of Ireland, Research and Policy Manager, in fact, and joins us now. Laura, thank you very much for your time.
No problem. Good afternoon.
Right, so what do we know of donanemab?
So donanemab is an antibody that targets the underlying biology of Alzheimer's disease. So people who have Alzheimer's disease have this kind of sticky, toxic protein built up in their brain called amyloid. And donanemab works with our body's immune system to kind of bind to this amyloid and to break it down. And that is what's thought to slow down the progression of the disease. So we got the full kind of picture of the data yesterday at a conference in Amsterdam. So Eli Lilly, the US pharmaceutical company who's manufacturing the drug, presented the results of their phase 3 clinical trial, and the results are looking quite positive. So that's a very exciting space to be in.
So when we talk about the drug being found to slow clinical decline by up to 35%, that's 35% of people or 35% of each person? You know, how would this improve people's outcomes generally if it delivers as the trials suggest it might?
So it's a slowdown in the rate of clinical decline. So it's really important to note that this drug will not help people to improve. It will just slow down the progression. So it slows it down by 35%. And it's thought, on average, this was equated to around a 4 to 7 month slowdown in progression in people in the trial, and the trial was 18 months. It should also be noted that there was 40% less decline in people's ability to perform activities of daily living. And when I say this, what I mean is managing finances, driving, engaging in hobbies, chatting about current events, things that you or I might not really think about on a daily basis, but they're actually really, really important to people's well-being.
So clearly, if this is rolled out or funded, it comes down to getting this drug to people as early as possible. Are we set up in this country to diagnose people with Alzheimer's as early as we possibly can, so we could maximise the benefits of these advances like this drug?
Yeah, you're completely right there. This drug is only suitable for people in the early stages of Alzheimer's disease, and actually it's most effective for people in the earliest stages. In Ireland, we definitely need to work on, earlier diagnosis, but we also need other infrastructure for drugs like these, infusion suites, because it's delivered intravenously, so through a vein in the arm, kind of like the way chemotherapy is delivered. We need MRI scanners to assess amyloid, to look at side effects. And, this drug is not approved yet by any European regulators, and this particular drug is not yet approved by the FDA. We won't have that result until the end of the year. But we are in a space where there are, 140 different treatments for Alzheimer's disease currently under clinical trial. And, there's high hopes that some of them will make it through, just like this drug has. This drug has shown really positive results. It's not perfect. It's not a cure. It's not without its side effects. It's not ideal. But we're at a really kind of important scientific juncture. And while we're waiting for the regulators, what we can do in Ireland is think about, okay, how do we get our health system ready now to actually go out and deliver this drug?
Yes, because, we'll see from time to time, if you open up a tabloid, there will be some small down the left or right column about some breakthrough potentially, and it's based off some opinion of one professor somewhere in America or something. And I'm not in any way discrediting that, but this is different. This is far more advanced, the way we're talking about this now, isn't it, Laura? There's far more room for some hope as to how things are developing in the area of care of Alzheimer's.
Yeah, absolutely. These are full-scale, multi-country clinical trials that cost billions. They're very well regulated. They're very well looked after. And there was, almost 2,000 people took part in this particular clinical trial. It was, to get to stage 3 of the clinical trial, you actually have to do years of research before that. So this is a credible treatment option, I would say, for Alzheimer's disease. There's a similar drug called lecanemab, that also targets amyloid in the brain. That was actually approved by the FDA there in the States. So that's the US regulator. That was approved 2 weeks ago. So that is now licensed for use in the US.
Okay, so encouraging. Just finally, Laura, as I mentioned just in the preamble there, we heard from a former GP here in the area who was questioning why we don't fund and treat people with Alzheimer's the same way as cancer. For example, someone who might have to sell their property or engage in the Fair Deal scheme. Does your society have a position on that? I know you're in the area of research and policy, so if that is outside of your wheelhouse in that regard, I fully understand that, and there's no issue in that. But is that something that you have a comment on, Laura?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, even from the research perspective. There's far more research into cancer than there is into dementia. There's far more research published in cancer than there is in dementia. It's not really clear, I suppose, why that is. I guess my personal opinion, this isn't necessarily the opinion of the Alzheimer's Society of Ireland, but it could be linked potentially to kind of an unconscious ageism. People associate Alzheimer's and they associate dementia with an older person's disease, where cancer is associated across the lifespan. So there could be an element to that there. There is still a real stigma with Alzheimer's disease and with dementia. We used to have a stigma around cancer, and now thankfully we've reached a point where there is no stigma for cancer. It's not that dreaded C words that people used to talk about, but we are still trying to break down those barriers for dementia here in Ireland.
All right. Thank you so much. Fascinating insight on both areas there. Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Laura O'Philbin, who's the Alzheimer's Society of Ireland's Research and Policy Manager. So anything that gives us some hope. I'm sure you've been kept up all night at times wondering how much honey does one bee make in its entire life? And I joke, but it's actually really quite interesting, isn't it? Well, our own Donna Marie Doherty today at 12:30 p.m. Join her for Ours to Protect to find out as she talks to Thomas Ellis of Donegal Bees. Ours to Protect is funded by Commissioner Mann with the television licence fee and is a partnership between Highland Radio and the Independent Broadcasters of Ireland. Check out ourstoprotect.ie for more info. So for interesting conversation, we actually really are quite interested in bees in this part of the world. Over the last year, I've spoken to young people who are developing particular honeys, and we've spoken to beekeepers and what have you. So there will be a great deal of interest in that. That's at 12:30 as part of John Breslin's Around the Northwest programme. Hello, Greg. Would any of your listeners know a cream or a cure for rosacea, a redness on the face? Thanks. That comes in from Anne. And we were talking about rosacea to a skin specialist not so long ago. But if anyone wants to recommend a cream, I'm more than happy to pass that on. Another caller says, I've a disability, but we need extra money from 1 week to the next. Nothing left. I also feel anybody with a disability should not have to pay for prescriptions. And I would agree with you. Was in Tesco last night and delighted to see a big queue at the checkout as people are getting wise to these self-service tills, as jobs will be lost if people use them. I'm not really sure about jobs being displaced because I've spoken to people in retail and it frees people up to do other things. I'm not arguing for them. As I said yesterday on the show, I don't use them because I find them confusing above anything else. So I'm not arguing for them, by the way. It's just I've spoken to some people in retail that say it's not actually displacing people, but they're able to do other things. That being said, that you go into shops and it seems the hassle of going over and sorting it out when the machine fails or people can't work it and there's people leaving tills to go and do that, and it still doesn't seem like a very smooth system to me as of yet. The government going off now on a 9-week break at a time when the country in a mess. Homeless numbers rising, children in pain waiting years for operations, no holidays for any of them. Food prices rising, rents and house prices rising, so many other urgent issues. Politicians deaf to it all. Shows what they think of us. Why do we put them in time after time? Well, doesn't matter who you're putting in, they still take the 9 weeks holidays. I'm sure they'll say they're very active in their local communities, but it is kind of funny that you have with the RTE payments thing, you had a group of politicians looking for their minute of fame, scrutinising the culture from within RTE and how things must change and it's this, that and the other, and then off for 9 weeks holidays fully paid. There's a cultural change there. Maybe sometimes people need to look inward as well as outward. Hi, Greg. I know all about the roadworks at Newtown Cunningham. We're going down the road yesterday. It was a disgrace how long we had to wait to even get to Newtown Cunningham. Why don't they do the roadworks at night or wait until the winter months when maybe the roads would be a wee bit quieter? I would say the short days would bring their own complications in terms of prolonging them. I don't know why some works are nighttime, some are daytime. I really don't know the ins and outs of that. As I say, I hate to speak personally because it's the road I'd be on, but recently travelling through roadworks, every morning the road, more of it was done. I was stopped at traffic lights for a total of 6 minutes through the entire process. So that worked well for me, if you know what I mean. And that's because they were being done at night. I don't know why those roadworks aren't being done at night. But listen, thank you so much to all of you who have joined us today. We really appreciate it, and we don't just say that, we genuinely do. Me and the team here never take for granted the support we have from listeners. And for those of you who choose to watch the show as well, you're all really important, and thank you so very much. And that's why we work so hard for you, not on air as well as on air, but behind the scenes as well. So for me, Greg Hughes, Caroline All, who researched and produced, and